Chapter 1545. Human, if you want to go to my ancestral land, then sit tight, the Beast King growled. The king beast let out a low roar as its broken palm grew back. Its 4 hooves stepped on the air as it walked towards the front of the Star Road. This Star Road was the direction indicated by the Tsong clan's star map, causing Yi Xian to be slightly startled. Wrong way. Take this star path. Before the Beast King entered the star path, Yi Xian stopped it and told it to go in the direction the star compass had pointed out. Human, do you want to die? The star path you mentioned has been destroyed. If we set foot on this ancient star path, not only will we not be able to reach our ancestral land, but we will also die in the ruins of this star path, the Beast King said in shock. Ruins of the star path. Yi Xian narrowed his eyes. He had already felt that the 2 star paths were different. Now that he heard about the so-called ruins of the star path from the Beast King's mouth, it was obvious that this was the reason. Yes, the ruins of the star path. This star path has existed for a long time, but it has been destroyed. There are many hidden dangers. Not only are there chaotic black holes, but there are also many strange and terrifying forces wreaking havoc. My family abandoned this star path a long time ago, so this star path is unpassable, the Beast King explained slowly. Buzz! The stars were in chaos, and the laws were scattered. Yi Xian opened his law eye of destruction. He saw through all illusions and gazed at the star path pointed out by the star compass. Sure enough, he saw a scene that made his heart tremble. Desolation, silence, bleakness, and ruin. The star path indicated by the starry sky compass was disjointed. The large stars were in tatters, and there were even terrifying black cracks streaking across this star path. This place was filled with decay and deathly stillness. It was impossible to sense any signs of life remaining. The thing that made Yi Xian's heart the most heavy was that on the star path indicated by the starry sky compass, the starlight was intermittent, and there were even terrifying black vortexes that occasionally appeared. This was a black hole formed by the primal chaos universe. Unless the strongest of all time could escape, if it was any other creature, they would definitely be devoured. Moreover, this was not the most important problem. On this dead and withered star path, Yi Xian felt the threat of death. It was as if something terrible was hidden on this star path. Once he entered, he would encounter some unimaginable horror. There is indeed something wrong with this star path, Yi Xian murmured. He didn't insist on going on this star path. Let's go. Take me to your ancestral land. Yi Xian pondered for a moment, then urged the Beast King to change direction and go on this new star path. He had to be cautious before thoroughly understanding the star path given to him by the eternal shadow. Boom! The ferocious eyes of the Beast King flashed. Its 4 hooves stepped into the air and entered the new star path. Song Haoqian quickly followed behind. The 2 of them, and the Beast King, also disappeared from this part of the starry sky. However, Yi Xian didn't know that on this ancient star path pointed out by the star compass, a pair of quiet and deep eyes slowly opened. They saw everything that Yi Xian was doing. What a person who defied the heavens and changed fate. Who changed your fate for you? Who sent you here to see if I'm still alive? This voice was so soft that it was almost inaudible. It was hoarse and stiff, as if countless years had passed, and he hadn't spoken for a very, very long time. His voice was old and stiff, and even the starry sky seemed to be strangely annihilated. This chaotic universe has just arrived at the 10th Eon. It's still early. Which old friend is it that is attacking me? A shadow sat cross-legged in the deepest part of the ancient star path. His body was surrounded by the light of death, and he was as lonely as a speck of dust. He couldn't be detected by any living beings. However, a scarlet color flashed across his eyes. These scarlet eyes were too similar to the eternal shadow. Lonely and silent, all things withered. This figure was as steady as a boulder. He had been silent for far too long. Even his thoughts had stagnated for a very, very long time. But at this moment, they began to operate again. But it's very interesting. This human isn't bound by the chaotic universe, nor is he part of the 3 great rivers of chaos, destiny, and time. Someone changed his fate for him. It seems that he is a very important chess piece, the mysterious figure murmured, then went silent again. Starlight lingered on the path of stars. Yi Xian rode the monarch beast, and indeed, they avoided many dangers along the way. As Yi Xian and the others went deeper and deeper, a large number of astral beasts swept past them. However, these astral beasts didn't have the intelligence that Yi Xian had encountered before. They didn't have the intelligence that the monarch beast possessed. What surprised Yi Xian the most was that he had seen a lot of immortal astral beasts along the way. He could feel the terrifying power contained within these immortal astral beasts. However, with the monarch beast as a mount, these unintelligent astral beasts actually retreated one by one, perhaps due to the suppression of their bloodline. It was as if they were afraid of the monarch beast. What a bunch of stupid things. The monarch beast was extremely ashamed to be ridden by Yi Xian. He was speechless in the face of these unintelligent astral beasts. If these astral beasts had some intelligence, they would have saved him. He wouldn't have been humiliated like this. However, there was nothing the Beast King could do about it. The astral behemoths were divided into two extremes. They might look terrifying, and there were astral behemoths everywhere in the chaotic universe, but none of them had any intelligence, which was their biggest weakness. Among the astral beasts, only astral beasts with royal blood could be considered true astral beasts. These unintelligent astral beasts could only be regarded as beasts at best. Although the monarch beast could command these astral beasts, he knew very well that if he dared to make any strange movements, Yi Xian would kill him first. Therefore, he had no choice but to carry Yi Xian on his back to the ancestral land. You despicable human, just you wait. When we arrive at the ancestral land, the monarch beast will tear out your tendons and skin you alive. The monarch beast was galloping, but he was cursing Yi Xian in his heart. The thought of Yi Xian's tragic death made him feel much better. 10 years passed in the blink of an eye. Finally, the two humans and the monarch beast reached the end of the star path. There was a vast nebula at the end of the star path. From time to time, they could see horrifying astral beasts sweeping across the starry sky, accompanied by ferocious and terrifying roars. They had arrived. After more than 10 years, Yi Xian had finally arrived at the ancestral land of the astral beasts. However, as soon as Yi Xian arrived, more than 10 horrifying beasts roared and rushed toward Yi Xian with monstrous ferocity. "How dare you ride one of my kind, human?" Roar. A ferocious aura pierced through the galaxy, and a ferocious aura roared through the ages. A towering beast's paw covered the sky, and it slammed down toward Yi Xian with a ferocious aura. The huge beast's paw shattered the starry sky, displaying an unimaginable power. Clang! Yi Xian didn't refuse. He raised his 5 fingers and returned the attack. The starry sky exploded, and a terrifying divine light burst out, forcing the terrifying beast's paw back. However, Yi Xian was sent flying from the monarch beast's paw. This proved that the beast's cultivation was extremely terrifying. Even Yi Xian didn't gain any advantage from this attack. "Uncle, save me." Back in the ancestral land, the monarch beast roared again and again. It turned into a beam of light and shot toward the person who had come. Yi Xian wanted to stop it, but it was too late. Chapter 1546. Whoosh whoosh. Dozens of figures appeared in an instant and surrounded Yi Xian and Song Haotian. They were all in human form, but they looked a little different from humans. Some of them had 2 horns on their heads, some of them had eyes like copper bells, and some of them had a tail behind them. But without exception, they all emitted an extremely fierce and terrifying aura. Their cultivation was at the immortal realm. How terrifying! With just a glance, even Yi Xian was shocked. Just the lineup in front of him was enough to show how terrifying the Star Beast clan was. Every single one of them was at the immortal realm. If they were only at the immortal realm, Yi Xian wouldn't be shocked. What really shocked him was that these dozens of people were emitting powerful auras. Their combat strength was definitely not something that a simple immortal realm expert could compare to. Riding on one of our clansmen and trespassing into our ancestral land. Are you tired of living? Boom! A white-robed man took a step forward and rushed towards Yi Xian. He had a pair of silver-white horns on his head, and a pair of silver eyes. Obviously, he was the one who had attacked Yi Xian just now. "Uncle, kill him." The Beast King that Yi Xian had seized had yet to transform. It was only a young beast king. It hid behind the white-robed man and roared angrily. Obviously, it hated Yi Xian to the core, because it had almost died in the hands of Yi Xian, and was ridden by Yi Xian. Rumble. The Starry Sky Beast clan was the most protective. Without the instigation of this king beast, the white-clothed man and his clansmen had already walked towards Yi Xian in large strides. The ferocious might of sealing the heavens and trapping the earth spread out, not giving Yi Xian any chance to explain. It's a misunderstanding. Fellow Taoists, it's a misunderstanding. This matter has nothing to do with me. Song Haotian quickly waved his hand and explained. He didn't want to be implicated by Yi Xian and die here. It's you. When the white-robed man saw Song Haotian, he frowned slightly. Song Haotian had been here not long ago, so he naturally had some impression of him. The Beast King once said that you are not allowed to tell outsiders about our clan. Since you broke your promise, you can die with him. Rumble. The white-robed man's ferocious aura surged, and a terrifying beast claw instantly materialized in the starry sky, slashing towards Song Haotian. Misunderstanding. Song Haotian's expression changed. His Taishu combat form glowed, and the 5 celestial gates opened, blocking the attack of the man in white. However, the man in white was extremely terrifying, and in the next moment, he charged towards Song Haotian with a ferocious aura. Bang bang bang. Although Song Haotian appeared humble, his combat strength was definitely extraordinary. With 5 sky gates and the great void combat body, he was able to fight the white-robed man to a standstill. After all, he would not just sit and wait for his death. Human, you deserve to die. More than a dozen immortal-ranked giant star beasts charged towards Yi Xian with unfathomable killing intent. They were all intelligent giant star beasts, and each of them was an immortal rank existence. More than a dozen giant star beasts attacked Yi Xian together. Unless Yi Xian could open the 4th sky gate and step into the 2nd stage of the immortal rank, he would definitely not be a match for these giant star beasts. Bang bang bang. The starry sky exploded and chi churned. Although Yi Xian was not a match for these giant star beasts, he had the power of time and space, and the heaven smiting change was a forbidden escape technique. Even if he was surrounded by more than a dozen immortal-ranked giant star beasts, he did not fall into a disadvantageous position. Boom! With a single punch that split the sky, an enormous space beast was fiercely blasted flying by Yi Xian. Although they were in human form, their physical bodies were terrifying to the extreme. After receiving Yi Xian's attack, it only broke their skin and didn't cause any substantial damage. What a sturdy body! Yi Xian's eyes widened in shock. Only he knew how powerful this punch of his was. If it was an immortal realm human that suffered this punch of his, this punch would be able to take their lives. However, to the space beasts, it only caused them to suffer light injuries. What a strong human! The giant star beast that took Yi Xian's punch turned back. His human face was a little distorted, and the web-like cracks on his chest made him fearful. He looked at Yi Xian with a serious expression. The strongest thing about the space beasts was their physical bodies. Their physical bodies were their most powerful weapons. When Yi Xian's punch broke through his defense, the heart-wrenching pain caused him to grimace in pain. Old 7, don't talk nonsense with him. Let's kill him together. A black-robed man said coldly and charged towards Yi Xian. The other 10 giant star beasts attacked again, forcing Yi Xian to use the heaven-smiting change and disappear, barely dodging the attacks of the giant star beasts. You want to play? Then I'll play with you. Yi Xian's voice sounded out from all directions in the starry sky. Although he wasn't a match for the dozen or so space beasts, they weren't able to lock onto his aura, let alone kill him. Kill! Suddenly, a black light streaked across the starry sky, and a 3-meter-long halberd appeared out of nowhere. The halberd shot towards one of the giant beasts of the starry sky. The halberd pierced through the chest of the giant beast of the starry sky in an instant. The heaven-smiting halberd, the #1 killing weapon of all time. It had been Yi Xian's weapon since he was young. As Yi Xian's cultivation increased, the heaven-smiting halberd also became more terrifying. The giant star beasts' bodies were indeed strong, but they couldn't withstand the sharpness of the heaven-smiting halberd. Uft! The halberd pierced through the giant star beast's chest and sent it flying. A large amount of blood spurted out, accompanied by the giant star beast's angry roar. Eighth brother. This scene made the other giant star beasts roar in anger. They wanted to save him, but Yi Xian didn't give them the chance. He pulled the heaven-smiting halberd out of the giant star beast's chest, leaving a bloody hole. Roar. The starry sky beast roared again and again. Its originally human body shone brightly, and it actually transformed into a beast that was tens of thousands of meters tall. Its terrifying beast claws directly slapped towards Yi Xian. Escape! Yi Xian disappeared with the heaven-smiting halberd, causing the injured giant star beast's attack to miss. The other giant star beasts in human form also missed. They were looking for Yi Xian with fierce eyes. Unfortunately, Yi Xian's heaven-smiting transformation was a forbidden technique. Even the strongest of all time might not be able to find Yi Xian, let alone these giant star beasts. This was his biggest trump card to survive in the Grand Central Territory. To put it bluntly, without a heaven-defying escape technique like the Heavenly Calamity transformation, Yi Xian wouldn't have rashly appeared in the central region. After all, if the undying Heaven Lord knew that he was still alive, he would definitely rush over and take his life. This brat's secret technique is strange. We can't kill him at all, seventh brother said in a muffled voice. How dare he come to our clan with a mere secret technique? We must kill him today. Otherwise, where will our clan's face go? Eighth brother roared. Chapter 1547. Suddenly, just as the giant astral beasts were searching for Yi Xian mysteriously reappeared and swung his heavenfall halberd at Old Eight. This time, it was aimed at Old Eight's eyes. If this attack landed, Old Eight's eyes would definitely be blinded. Watch out! The rest of the giant astral beasts growled and unleashed various techniques at Yi Xian. Old Eight broke out in a cold sweat and transformed back into his human form. However, the bloody hole in his chest was glaring, and he barely dodged Yi Xian's sinister attack. Boom! Space exploded, and the attacks of the giant astral beasts missed again. Yi Xian disappeared again, and this enraged the giant astral beasts so much that their chests were about to explode. Their furious roar shook the starry sky. Don't transform into your beast forms. Otherwise he'll be too small of a target. Our beast forms are huge, and will be easily ambushed by him, Old Three warned. Second brother, hurry up and get the divine mirror. He won't be able to hide from us. Old Four said quickly and calmly. A blue-clothed man turned into a streak of light and returned to his ancestral land. It was obvious that he was the second brother of these space beasts. It was obvious that he wanted to take the heavenly reflection realm and break Yi Xian's heavenly calamity transformation. With one less person, Yi Xian's pressure didn't lessen by much, but it was still beneficial to him. He reappeared and swung his heavenfall halberd at Old Eight, as if he had his eyes on this giant astral beast. Are you done? Do you really think I'm easy to bully? Old Eight's chest was about to explode. This damned human seemed to have his eyes on him. Every time he attacked him, it was with a sinister move that made him truly understand what it meant to be scared witless. Bang! Old Eight threw a punch and deflected the heavenfall halberd. However, his fist was cut open by the heavenfall halberd, and a large amount of blood flowed from his fist. Yi Xian retreated immediately after his attack and didn't stop at all. They couldn't find any trace of Yi Xian. Illumination realm. Suddenly, a loud roar came from the ancestral land of the giant beasts of the starry sky. A Tongtian mirror light arrived with a loud bang, directly enveloping the entire starry sky. Ha ha ha, you damned human. Today, Lao Tzu will eat your flesh and drink your blood. When the mirror light hit, Old Eighth laughed wildly, as if he could already see Yi Xian being exposed. The smile on his face was hideous and terrifying. Unfortunately, Eighth Brother's ferocious smile did not last long. The smile froze on his face because the next scene completely stunned him. Even the other 10 giant beasts of the starry sky were speechless. The heavenly reflection mirror's light had nowhere to hide. No matter what kind of escape technique one used, under the heavenly reflection mirror, one's tracks would be revealed. However, the heavenly illumination mirror had failed. It had completely failed due to Yi Xian's heaven calamity transformation. The Tongtian mirror's light enveloped the entire region of space, magnifying even a speck of dust 1,000,000 times over. However, it was unable to illuminate Yi Xian's location. It was as if Yi Xian did not even exist in this part of space. He ran away? Old Eighth muttered. However, before he could regain his senses, a cold and sharp aura suddenly appeared behind him. Following a sharp pain, his chest was once again pierced through. Pft! Yi Xian's halberd succeeded and fiercely sent Old Eight flying. A large amount of blood splattered down, and while everyone was in a state of shock and speechlessness, a trace of savage killing intent flashed through Yi Xian's eyes. The heavenly execution halberd directly smashed towards the center of Old Eight's brows. Humans had human souls and beasts had beast souls. Once a beast's soul was pierced through, even a giant beast of the starry sky would die. This was also Yi Xian's sure kill attack. There was no way Old Eighth could escape, and it was too late for the others to save him. Die! Boom! The halberd pierced through the sky, killing everything in its path. The heavenly reflection halberd in Yi Xian's hand released an ancient and ferocious aura. It turned into a terrifying black light that shot towards Old Eight's forehead, accompanied by Yi Xian's cruel voice. Impudent! Suddenly, at this critical moment, a deep voice sounded. A red light burst out from the ancestral land of the giant beasts of the starry sky. The terrifying aura shattered the starry sky and made Yi Xian's scalp tingle. A sense of impending death emerged in his heart. Go! Without any hesitation or reluctance, Yi Xian instantly used the Heaven's Wrath transformation. Once again, Yi Xian disappeared, narrowly avoiding this terrifying attack, and allowing Old Eighth to escape with his life. Boom boom boom! Like a star exploding, like a vast ocean, a heavy figure walked out from the ancestral land of the giant beasts of the starry sky. With every step this person took, the entire starry sky rumbled and trembled. A power that surpassed the immortal realm suppressed this starry universe. Your Majesty! In the next moment, the white-robed man who was fighting fiercely with Song Haotian stopped attacking. More than a dozen giant beasts of the starry sky bowed to this figure. Junior Song Haotian greets the Beast King. Song Haotian's face was pale as he hurriedly bowed in greeting. He was humble, because he knew what kind of existence this person was. The other party was the king of the Astral Beast clan. Dressed in black, this Beast King looked like an ordinary human youth. There was no sign of a starry sky behemoth on his body. However, his aura, which had surpassed the immortal realm, made the entire starry sky tremble. Young friend, your escape technique is so powerful that even my clan's Illumination Realm cultivators are ineffective against you. But you came to my clan and acted so atrociously. Do you really think that the giant beasts of space are easy to bully? When the Beast King opened and closed his eyes, it was as if the stars had been extinguished. As a half-step supreme expert, his eyes could see through the essence. He was currently searching for Yi Xian's true body. But in the next moment, the Beast King's aura was stifled. Even the aura of a half-step absolute being around him was messed up. Even though it was only for a moment and no one had noticed it, the Beast King's heart was in turmoil. Can't find it? I can't find this human? The Beast King looked calm, but his heart was trembling violently. He had already activated his Beast King Dharma Eye, let alone a mere escape technique. Even if an Immortal Realm cultivator were to come personally, he would still be able to detect traces. But now, he actually couldn't sense Yi Xian's existence, let alone find his true body. This kind of extremely strange thing caused him to be extremely shocked. My king, kill him. Old Eight stumbled over. He had suffered continuous attacks from Yi Xian, and was severely injured. Now that the Beast King had appeared, he believed that he could definitely find Yi Xian and kill him. Impudent! Back off! The Beast King scolded coldly. This stunned Old Eight. The others were also stunned speechless. No one had expected the Beast King to scold his clan members, and it seemed like he was extremely dissatisfied with them. One must know that the giant beasts of space were extremely protective of their own. No matter who was right or wrong, they would kill their enemies. This was also an extremely tyrannical and unreasonable way of doing things. This was especially true for the king of the giant beasts of space. He was the epitome of this tyrannical way of doing things. But today, The sun had risen from the west. The Beast King was actually scolding them for an outsider. At this moment, only the Beast King was feeling bitter in his heart. Why would he want to scold his clan members? It was just that even he couldn't find Yi Xian, let alone kill him. Just this escape technique of Yi Xian's was enough to let him understand that Yi Xian must have a great background. Chapter 1548. You are a guest. Although our clan lives in the depths of space and has not been in contact with the outside world for a long time, we are not unreasonable people. You must not act recklessly in the future. The Beast King pretended to reprimand him, then looked around the starry sky and pretended to be deep in thought as he said, "Little friend, your secret techniques are earth-shattering. May I know which orthodoxy you are from, and why you have come to our clan? What happened just now was just a misunderstanding. I hope you will not take it to heart." As the saying goes, one does not slap a smiling face. Although Yi Xian knew that the Beast King was just putting on an act and could not do anything to him, he really did not come here to cause trouble. This also allowed Yi Xian to reappear in this part of the starry sky. Following Yi Xian's appearance, the Beast King's eyes moved slightly. A murderous intent quietly rose, but it dissipated in an instant. This was because he found that he could not lock onto Yi Xian. This also meant that Yi Xian could mysteriously disappear at any time like just now. This also made him even more suspicious of Yi Xian's origins. In the Beast King's impression, the 10 supreme orthodoxies did not have such an escape technique. Even the ancient and mysterious forbidden lands in the universe had never heard of such an escape technique. Yi Xian smiled and said, "Since it's a misunderstanding, won't the Beast King invite me in for a seat?" "Of course, please." The Beast King lived up to his name as the leader of a great clan. He very graciously invited Yi Xian into the ancestral land, and even dismissed the dozen or so clansmen. He did not mention that Yi Xian had just fought with his clansmen. Soon, under the Beast King's guidance, Yi Xian truly entered the ancestral land of the giant star beasts. He also truly understood how terrifying the giant star beasts were. In the vast starry sky, there were many stars. Ancient great stars hung in the sky. From time to time, a sea of giant star beasts could be seen whizzing past. The deafening roars of the beasts could be heard. These giant star beasts were huge, and all of them exuded an extremely terrifying aura. These giant beasts of the starry sky all had spiritual intelligence. When he entered the ancestral land of the giant beasts of the starry sky, many unfriendly gazes fell on him. If it were anyone else, they would have been shocked by the giant beasts of the starry sky. However, although Yi Xian was shocked, he looked very calm on the surface. He followed the Beast King, as if he was taking a leisurely stroll. "We, the astral behemoths, have existed since the beginning of the primal chaos. We have lived through 10 great yuans. This is the ancestral land of our race. There are more than 100,000 astral behemoths with royal blood." The Beast King explained the situation of the star beasts to Yi Xian as they walked. Although he spoke casually, he had been observing Yi Xian's expression, hoping to sound out Yi Xian's origins. Unfortunately, Yi Xian was a man of few words. No matter how the Beast King probed, he only responded with a simple sentence. This also let the Beast King know that this human in front of him could not be found out with just a few words. Half an hour passed. Finally, under the Beast King's guidance, Yi Xian arrived in front of a temple. It was modeled simple and pitch black. This temple was very large, but it was filled with the aura of the vicissitudes of time. Clearly, this temple had existed for countless years. "Please." The Beast King led the way into the temple. Yi Xian slowly followed behind. However, the black plaque on the temple attracted his attention. The Myriad Beast Temple? Yi Xian's heart trembled. He suddenly felt that this temple seemed to hide something that made him fearful. This made him stop, and he did not enter the temple. "Young friend, what's wrong?" The Beast King turned around and looked at Yi Xian. There was a kind smile on his face. There was nothing strange about it at all. The Myriad Beast Temple. What a good name. Yi Xian's eyes narrowed as he flatly praised. Then he strode into the temple. A strange look flashed through the Beast King's eyes. Inside the Myriad Beast Temple, the surroundings were pitch black. so dark that it was almost impossible to see one's own fingers. As Yi Xian and the Beast King entered, candles began to strangely light up, illuminating the entire temple. When Yi Xian saw what was going on inside the temple, he was stunned. This was because the temple was extremely ordinary. It was extremely spacious, with only a single altar within the temple. 3 animals and 4 fruits were placed on the altar, and a pitch-black statue stood on it. Clearly, it was there for people to worship. Yi Xian looked at the black statue. He did not know what it was made of, but it was so black that it made his heart tremble. However, Yi Xian could tell that the statue was human. However, when Yi Xian looked at the black statue's eyes, his soul suddenly trembled. He suddenly felt his vision become hazy, making it impossible to see the statue clearly. Law Destruction Eyes. In the next moment, Yi Xian directly activated his Law Destruction Eyes. His eyes rotated terrifyingly, and the fog before him suddenly dissipated. His gaze landed on the black statue again, and he could see the statue's appearance, especially the statue's eyes. Suddenly, a grunt came from Yi Xian's mouth. 2 streams of blood flowed from his eyes. Yi Xian only felt an unbearable pain in his eyes. Just a glance at the statue's eyes made him feel like he had suffered an unimaginable injury. Thump, thump, thump. Yi Xian continuously retreated, and his entire body staggered. Although the blood in his eyes didn't flow out anymore, it still caused Yi Xian's eyes to temporarily go blind, and even his magic eye of annihilation suffered heavy injuries. It's him. It must be him. Yi Xian tried his best to stabilize himself as he roared madly in his heart. A single glance, just a single glance, made Yi Xian very certain that the forbidden figure he was looking for was the true body of the statue. The black statue was not a physical object. It only contained a strand of the forbidden figure's consciousness. Yi Xian activated his Law Destruction Eyes to look at it. This was blasphemy against the forbidden figure, so he naturally suffered a backlash from this strand of consciousness. Yi Xian had seen all the supreme experts of history, including forbidden figures. If a statue could injure him, the true body of the statue had to be the forbidden figure he was looking for. Boom! Suddenly, just as Yi Xian's mind was in chaos, an extremely terrifying aura pressed down on him. It was the Beast King beside him. This half-step supreme expert had been waiting for this opportunity. He did not bring Yi Xian back to his dojo, but instead lured Yi Xian into the Myriad Beast Temple in order to kill Yi Xian in one fell swoop. Yi Xian's escape technique was too strange. Even though he was a half-step supreme expert, he could not do anything to Yi Xian. He could only rely on the ancestral statue to restrain Yi Xian. Then, he could kill Yi Xian on the spot before Yi Xian could escape. Half-step supreme expert, how powerful was that? This was the most terrifying existence below the supreme experts of history. The Beast King did not use his full strength in this attack, but he was absolutely confident that he could suppress Yi Xian. Yi Xian did not have time to use the Calamity transformation. His entire body was locked down by the Beast King's aura. He did not even have the chance to escape. Danger! Danger of death! At this moment, Yi Xian had already woken up. He wanted to use the Calamity transformation to escape, but he knew it was too late. Chapter 1549. Eternal Reincarnation Fist. Boom! Yi Xian's heart moved with his fist. Although he didn't have time to activate the Calamity transformation, the Eternal Reincarnation Fist had already become his body's instinct. This punch contained 90% of his cultivation. A mysterious brilliance flickered on his fist as it blasted towards the Beast King. Eternal Reincarnation, Destruction of Chaos. This was the terrifying part of the Eternal Reincarnation Fist. It was also Yi Xian's strongest killing move. This punch seemed ordinary. However, the more ordinary something was, the more terrifying it was. Even the Beast King didn't expect that Yi Xian, a mere immortal realm expert, would dare to resist him. Bang! The space exploded and cracks spread out. The entire All-Beast Divine Temple trembled in a terrifying manner. If it were not for the mysterious power reinforcing the temple, the two of them alone would have been enough to reduce the All-Beast Divine Temple to dust. Puff! A mouthful of blood sprayed out from Yi Xian's mouth. His right arm directly turned into a bloody mist and exploded. His entire body flew out like a kite with its string cut. The terrifying half-step to the omnipotent realm expert spread throughout his body. Half of his body cracked inch by inch. With a loud bang, half of Yi Xian's body exploded. Terrifying, extremely terrifying. This was the power of a half-step to the omnipotent realm expert. Even though Yi Xian had executed the eternal reincarnation fist, he still couldn't block the Beast King's attack. He suffered an unimaginable injury. However, Yi Xian didn't know that although half of his body was destroyed, and he was almost killed by the Beast King's attack, the Beast King was even more shocked than him. He stood rooted to the ground. Only the Beast King knew how powerful this attack was. Even a complete Immortal Realm expert might not be able to survive this attack, let alone Yi Xian, who was merely in the initial stage of the Immortal Realm. However, Yi Xian had actually blocked it. Although this caused the Beast King to be extremely shocked, the thing that caused him to be the most terrified and speechless was that his palm had strangely split open. Traces of blood flowed out from the wound. He was actually injured by Yi Xian's punch. Injured? I was injured by an Immortal Realm Junior? The Beast King raised his hand in a daze. There was a bloody wound on his palm, and blood was flowing out. There was also a mysterious light flickering in his palm. He couldn't believe it, he couldn't believe it. He was a half-step omnipotent, the king of space beasts. How could he be injured by an Immortal Realm brat? This was simply a fantasy in his eyes. Although the wound was nothing to the Beast King, it caused his heart to be in turmoil, and he thought of something extremely terrifying. This damned human was only at the early stage of the Immortal Realm. Judging from his cultivation, he had only opened the first gate of heaven, yet he was able to injure him at this stage. If he continued to grow, he was afraid that he would be able to fight him at the peak of the Immortal Realm before reaching the half-step omnipotent realm, or even kill him. When this thought surfaced, the Beast King felt a chill run down his spine. A sense of danger weighed heavily on his mind. This brat must die. In the next moment, the Beast King suddenly came to his senses. A murderous intent that he had never felt before burst out. He couldn't let Yi Xian leave this place alive. Otherwise, he would definitely become a great enemy of the space beasts. Even the heaven-defying geniuses he cultivated wouldn't be a match for him, let alone compete for the title of omnipotent expert in the next Yuan Hui. Ah, what's going on? Just as the Beast King revealed his killing intent and wanted to kill Yi Xian in one go, an intense pain came from his palm, accompanied by the sound of flesh and blood falling to the ground. The tiny wound on his palm, which was injured by Yi Xian's eternal reincarnation fist, was gradually expanding. The mysterious light was constantly melting the flesh on his palm. When the Beast King sensed that something was wrong, half of his palm had already melted. If this continued, he was afraid that the mysterious light would spread to his entire body. What kind of power is this? The Beast King was shocked. He frantically activated his cultivation base, wanting to get rid of this mysterious light. However, something that shocked him happened. No matter how he activated his cultivation, he couldn't get rid of the mysterious light. Instead, the mysterious light became more intense and started to spread toward his arm. Pfft! The Beast King was indeed a ruthless person. When he realized that he couldn't get rid of the mysterious light, he directly chopped off his right palm. Sizzle! The severed hand turned into ashes in the mysterious light and disappeared without a trace. However, this made the Beast King gasp. He was so shocked that he broke out in a cold sweat. What kind of power was this? Omnipotent power? Or was it forbidden power? A series of horrifying thoughts flashed through his mind. However, he rejected them one by one. Although the omnipotent power was terrifying, it wasn't enough to make him chop off his own hand. Unless the omnipotent expert attacked him personally. As for the forbidden power, it was a kind of death light. It was a kind of luster that could destroy all things. It was completely different from this power. 3 breaths. It had only been 3 breaths. Countless horrifying thoughts flashed through the Beast King's mind. However, it was also because of these 3 breaths that he missed the best opportunity to kill Yi Xian. Heaven's calamity transformation. An extremely weak voice sounded. Yi Xian's shattered body suddenly disappeared without a trace. Only a pool of blood remained on the ground. It was as if he had never been there. Damn it! The Beast King suddenly came to his senses. In that moment of absent-mindedness, Yi Xian had actually escaped. He didn't expect that Yi Xian would still be able to use such a strange escape technique after suffering such a terrifying injury. Come out! Come out from me! The Beast King's eyes were fierce. A series of angry roars rang out in the All-Beast Temple. He wanted to find Yi Xian like a madman, but he couldn't find any trace of Yi Xian. The Heaven Calamity transformation disappeared without a trace. Yi Xian was panting heavily. The heaven-bearing divine light was rapidly repairing his body. When the shattered half of his body was restored, Yi Xian looked as good as before. However, Yi Xian's face was extremely pale. He gave off an extremely weak feeling. After suffering a fatal blow from a half-step omnipotent, and using 90% of his cultivation to use the eternal reincarnation fist, Yi Xian was extremely weak. At this moment, he was barely using the Heaven Calamity transformation. Otherwise, he wouldn't have any chance of survival in front of a half-step omnipotent. You dog, how dare you scheme against me? I, Yi Xian, will remember today's matter. Yi Xian's voice was extremely sinister. He had always been the one scheming against others. Today he actually failed miserably. Although it was because of the forbidden divine statue, he almost died in the hands of the Beast King. This was something that Yi Xian held a grudge against him. Brat, I advise you to come out immediately. Otherwise I'll kill Song Haotian in the entire Song clan. The Beast King didn't know what to say to threaten him. He could only throw out Song Haotian. He also thought that Song Haotian was Yi Xian's friend. Otherwise, why would he bring Yi Xian here? Kill that trash if you want. But I can tell you that from today onwards, your Star Beast clan will be in trouble. Yi Xian said ruthlessly, and used the Heaven Calamity transformation to leave the All-Beast Temple. No one could stop him from leaving. Chapter 1550. The starry sky was boundless and silent. Wang. Ripples spread out as Yi Xian weakly walked out of the Calamity transformation. Blood kept flowing out from the corner of his mouth as he swayed, and fell towards a small star. Bang! Yi Xian's body was unsteady as he heavily fell to the ground. However, he quickly supported himself up with his arms, and barely managed to use the earth escape technique to hide himself within the star. Yi Xian had completely disappeared from this star. Inside the star, Yi Xian was in a daze. He breathed out a mouthful of turbid air, and used his willpower to support himself, so that he wouldn't faint. The heaven-burying technique in his body began to heal the injuries he had suffered. A half-step omnipotent was too powerful. It wasn't something Yi Xian could fight against. Fortunately, he had many trump cards on him. Otherwise, he would have died in the hands of the Beast King. Under the recovery of the heaven burial art, and the consumption of a large amount of divine pills and miraculous medicines, Yi Xian's injuries were recovering at an extremely fast speed. However, it still took a full 3 years. 3 years later, boom! Yi Xian opened his eyes. His law eye of annihilation was shining brightly, as a terrifying heaven-burying divine light overflowed from his body. The small star he was hiding in suddenly turned into ashes, as he appeared in the starry sky once again. What a half-step omnipotent! It's really powerful. Yi Xian's face was cold and his eyes were terrifyingly deep. Although he had almost died in the hands of the Beast King, this kind of danger was nothing to Yi Xian. However, he had to take revenge. Yi Xian had never believed in the bullshit, that it was never too late for a gentleman to take revenge. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. Revenge would not be delayed overnight. This had always been his way of doing things. If he didn't teach the space beasts an unforgettable lesson, how could this be Yi Xian's nature? Of course, Yi Xian knew the purpose of his trip. He was here to find the taboo character, not to start a feud with the space beasts. However, Yi Xian understood one thing very well. Whether it was the space beasts or the half-step omnipotent Beast King, they didn't think highly of him at all. Even if Yi Xian paid a visit and treated him with respect, what awaited him would be the space beasts killing him. This ancient race was used to being tyrannical and looked down on the so-called humans, not to mention telling him about the taboo character. If he wanted to speak on equal terms, then he had to have the strength to do so. Therefore, even though Yi Xian wanted to take revenge, he wanted to show off his might to the space beasts and truly make them fear him. This was the only way he could truly learn about the taboo character and learn the whereabouts of the taboo character from the Astral Beast clan. Perhaps some people would ask why Yi Xian didn't take the path pointed out by the starry sky compass. The reason was simple. It was because Yi Xian discovered that the ancient star path was filled with life-threatening dangers that even he couldn't resist. Chaotic black holes, spatial cracks, and even dilapidated star paths. There were also dangers that he couldn't see. It wasn't that Yi Xian was afraid of death, but he knew that this was Eternal Shadow's method. If he stepped on this path, what awaited him would be hopeless. If Yi Xian's guess was right, Eternal Shadow wanted to use him to lure this taboo character out, and he was just the bait in Eternal Shadow's hand. Yi Xian didn't want to be bait, so he didn't follow the path Eternal Shadow had arranged. Even if he was just a chess piece temporarily, he wanted to be a chess piece that could jump out of the chessboard. Yi Xian took a step forward and disappeared into the starry sky. On the other side, Song Haoyan had no choice but to suffer in silence. He was imprisoned in the Space Behemoth clan, and there were 2 Immortal Realm Space Behemoths watching over him. Even his cultivation base had been sealed, and the initiator of all this was Yi Xian. Song Haoyan didn't know what Yi Xian had done to provoke the Beast King to issue a decree that Yi Xian must be found. He even sent several Immortal Realm Starry Sky Beasts to the chaotic world. As the sinner who led Yi Xian here, he was lucky to be alive. He could only sigh in the cage and pray that he could walk out of the Starry Sky Beast clan alive. Damn it, damn it. Suddenly, an angry roar came from the outside world. 8th brother strode into the star prison and lifted Song Haoyan up. He roared angrily. Tell me, where did this bastard come from? What is he trying to do in our clan? Facing this horrifying giant star beast, Song Haoyan's nerves tensed up. He didn't know what had happened to make the giant star beast so enraged, and he could feel the terrifying murderous intent overflowing from the giant star beast. 8th brother, put him down. Don't be rash. Several figures entered the star prison and snatched Song Haoyan away from Old 8's hands. Numerous pairs of ferocious eyes were fixed on Song Haoyan. The white-robed man in the lead was obviously the leader of these people. At this moment, his gaze towards Song Haoyan was unusually fierce. Fellow Tsang, your Tsang clan and my Space Behemoth clan have some good karma. My clan has even given you a heavenly beast pill. However, the person you brought here has been continuously killing our clansmen. If you don't give my clan an explanation, not only will you die here, even your Tsang clan won't be able to survive, the white-robed man said in a gloomy voice. Fellow Taoists, I've already said what I need to say. I was also forced to come here by this person. Song Haoyan explained bitterly. He had already explained everything to the Beast King, but now it seemed that Yi Xian had come out to cause trouble again. Moreover, he should have killed a lot of starry sky beasts. Otherwise, these people wouldn't be so angry. Song Haoyan guessed right. Yi Xian had indeed appeared, and he had appeared with great fanfare. He had blocked the star path leading to the outside world by himself. Any starry sky beast weaker than him would be killed without leaving a single one alive. His cruel methods were even more shocking. Moreover, none of the starry sky beasts that died at Yi Xian's hands had an intact corpse. He had used the Calamity Transcender technique and the heaven-devouring demonic art to devour them, until not even their bones were left. According to Yi Xian's words, since the Beast King had seriously injured him, he would return the favor 100 times, 1,000 times, or even 10,000 times over. As long as it was a member of the Starry Sky Beast clan, no one would be able to leave their ancestral land. If one came, he would kill one. If 2 came, he would kill 2. Moreover, Yi Xian could be said to have gone from bad to worse. Not only did he block the star path leading to the outside world, but he also sneaked into the ancestral land of the Starry Sky Beast clan and waited for an opportunity to assassinate a large number of Starry Sky Beasts, causing everyone in the ancestral land to be in danger. There were hundreds of millions of Starry Sky Beasts. This sounded a bit shocking, but it was only the view of the outside world. There were only about 100,000 starry sky beasts that truly possessed intelligence. These starry sky beasts were called king beasts and had extremely high intelligence. They were also the true core of the starry sky beast clan. As for the remaining hundreds of millions of starry sky beasts, besides having a terrifying beast body and terrifying cultivation, their intelligence was ignorant. They were nothing more than tools for the king beasts, and were not treated as members of their clan. Chapter 1551. Yi Xian had only killed beast kings. Every beast king's death was an immeasurable loss to the Star Beast clan. The Star Beast clan couldn't wait to tear Yi Xian into pieces. However, be it the Immortal Realm Star Beasts or their beast kings, they couldn't find any trace of Yi Xian. They could only let him lurk in their ancestral land and assassinate their clansmen. Now the entire Star Beast clan was in danger. They didn't dare to go out alone. Hundreds of clansmen huddled together, afraid that Yi Xian would suddenly appear and kill them. If Yi Xian's cultivation was weak, it would be fine. However, his cultivation was too strong. Ordinary star beasts were no match for him. Moreover, Yi Xian specifically targeted the weaker star beasts to kill. As long as the Immortal Realm star beasts came to help, he would immediately escape and disappear. Such despicable and shameless methods made the Star Beast clan furious. However, an extremely panicked mood began to spread. Countless clansmen went to see the Beast King every day, hoping that the Beast King could think of a way to eliminate Yi Xian. On the other side, the Beast King's face was as gloomy as water. He kept listening to the reports from his clansmen. In just 7 days, the number of Beast Kings that died in Yi Xian's hands had reached more than 1,000. If this continued, the Star Beast clan would die without descendants. Moreover, Yi Xian blocked the star path to the outside world. When their clansmen returned to their ancestral land, they were immediately killed by him. The Beast Kings that wanted to leave the ancestral land could only travel in groups. However, they were still killed one by Yi Xian's strange escape method. Even the Immortal Realm star beasts suffered heavy injuries, and 3 of them died. What a despicable and shameless human. Bang! The Beast King angrily smashed the table in front of him. His entire body couldn't help but erupt with a monstrous aura. He had a cultivation of half a step to the strongest, but he couldn't do anything to Yi Xian. This feeling made him feel extremely aggrieved. I don't believe that he can keep wasting time like this. The Beast King was truly enraged. He strode out of the training hall and sat in the air above the ancestral ground. His half-step supreme aura covered the entire place. As soon as Yi Xian appeared, he would instantly appear in front of Yi Xian. On the other side, at the end of the Star Road, Yi Xian sat cross-legged in the air. The heaven-smiting transformation made him invisible and formless. He looked at the Beast Kings in the ancestral grounds with a cold smile on his face. Covering the entire ancestral land with the cultivation of a half-step sovereign was an extremely taxing method. This indeed made it much more difficult for Yi Xian to move. However, it was only difficult, and not enough to obstruct him. If I want to kill someone, can you stop me? Yi Xian muttered cruelly. He stood up from his cross-legged position and stepped into the ancestral land. Boom! His 5 fingers were like the heavens suppressing all things. Yi Xian slapped out, turning a young beast into a bloody pulp. His actions were extremely cruel and unrestrained. You're courting death. As soon as Yi Xian killed the young beast, the Beast King's furious roar rang out. He instantly appeared in front of Yi Xian and sent a great art at Yi Xian. Unfortunately, Yi Xian was prepared. He instantly activated the heaven-smiting transformation and disappeared from the Beast King's sight. Yi Xian's mocking words could be heard from the starry sky. I told you before that I'll remember this grudge. If you hurt me once, I'll kill 10,000 of your clansmen. Just you wait. Come out. Get the hell out here for this king. Yi Xian's words completely provoked the Beast King. He madly sent out one terrifying art after another. The surrounding starry sky exploded, and even some of the ancient buildings in the ancestral grounds were reduced to ashes. Unfortunately, Yi Xian had already left. He wouldn't stay here for long. Before the Beast King could vent his anger, something else happened. Another dozen or so giant astral beasts died at Yi Xian's hands. Moreover, Yi Xian specifically targeted the Beast King. This drove the Beast King mad. Damn you, damn you, damn you humans! All of you humans deserve to die. The Beast King rushed over again, but all he saw was Yi Xian's disappearing figure. The ground was littered with the corpses of his clansmen. Their deaths were extremely miserable, and some had even been cut into pieces by Yi Xian. Beast King, let's wait and see if you can find me first, or if I kill 10,000 of your clansmen first. Yi Xian's cruel voice sounded out, causing the Beast King to be stunned on the spot. After a full 10 breaths of time, he transformed into his true form, which was over 10,000 kilometers in size. That terrifying and ferocious beast had roared in the starry sky. I wasn't wrong at all when I said you were an animal. So what if you reverted to your true form? You still have to watch your clansmen die one by one in front of you. Yi Xian sneered, and used the heaven-smiting transformation to leave again. Pass down this king's decree. All clansmen are to gather. No one is to leave without my permission. The Beast King's voice echoed throughout the ancestral grounds. Urgent bells also rang throughout the ancestral grounds. A large number of clansmen began to gather at the Beast King training hall. In just half a day, the ancestral grounds were empty. All of the Beast King training hall were crowded inside. What's going on? What happened? Why can't our king do anything to a human? Who is this human? All kinds of terrified voices came from the mouths of the Beast King training hall. They finally felt a trace of security as they crowded into the Beast King training hall. All of you shut your mouths. An old man walked through the stars, releasing an extremely terrifying aura. Although he wasn't as strong as the Beast King, he was definitely at the peak of the immortal realm. Elder Xing, protect these clansmen for the time being. This king will think of a way to get rid of this human. The Beast King reverted to his human form and instructed the old man. Don't worry, my king. With me here, as long as he dares to appear, I will definitely beat him back. The old man waved his hand and set up a light screen that covered the sky, covering all of the clansmen. If anyone wanted to break through this light screen, they would have to be at the same cultivation level as the Beast King, or at least a half step to the immortal realm. Gathering all of the clansmen together and using a great technique to protect them was indeed the safest method. The Beast King left with a gloomy expression. The old man also sat cross-legged in the void. But this way, although the Beast Kings were protected, it was also equivalent to being imprisoned. They couldn't even take half a step out of the light screen. For the star beasts, this was simply too depressing. But since the Beast King had passed down a decree, no one dared to say anything. They could only wait patiently for the Beast King to return and truly get rid of Yi Xian. On the other side, Yi Xian saw all of this and frowned slightly. The Beast King's method was indeed very effective. It was indeed impossible for him to kill the Beast Kings again. But Yi Xian sneered. He didn't believe that the star beasts could stay together forever. How long could they last in this prison-like defense? Since he couldn't kill the Beast Kings, Yi Xian didn't want to waste time on them. He used the Calamity transformation and secretly followed the Beast King. He wanted to see what the Beast King would do to find him. The All-Beast Temple. Yi Xian went there again and entered with the Beast King. But this time he had learned his lesson. He didn't even look at the forbidden statue after entering the All-Beast Temple. He hadn't forgotten the lesson he had learned. Ancestor, please show us your divinity. Our clan is in great trouble. Ancestor, please show us your grace, and let us find this despicable human. The Beast King knelt on the ground and kept kowtowing to the forbidden statue. Seeing this scene, Yi Xian's inner breath fiercely trembled. If this taboo figure really did appear, then his Calamity transformation would probably lose its effect. But Yi Xian was also looking forward to it. If that forbidden character could show up, then that would be exactly what he wanted. After all, he was there to find that person. Ancestor, please show us your divinity. The Beast King prayed bitterly and kept kowtowing to the statue. However, the statue didn't move at all. No matter how much the Beast King prayed, nothing happened. Chapter 1552. You won't even show up when I kill your people? The Beast King had knelt and begged for 3 days, but there was no reaction from the forbidden statue. Yi Xian sighed in his heart. It seemed that it was really difficult to force this forbidden character out. Yi Xian could tell that this forbidden character should be the ancestor of the astral beasts. However, even the Beast King couldn't get him to show up. Even if he could talk to the Beast King as an equal, he wouldn't be able to find this person. Alright, you won't show up, right? Then I'll kill 100,000 of your Beast Kings and completely wipe out the bloodline of your astral beasts. I don't believe that you won't show up. Yi Xian whispered viciously and disappeared from the all-beast temple. Bang! The light screen shook. Yi Xian appeared out of nowhere and left after one attack. Although he didn't break the light screen, all the Beast Kings were shocked. Elder Xing, who was guarding here, attacked Yi Xian, but he still couldn't make Yi Xian stay. This made all the Beast Kings feel helpless. Yi Xian was like a nightmare, making them live in nightmares all the time. Damn human. In the next moment, the Beast King walked out of the void. His face was extremely pale, and there was worry in his eyes. He really couldn't do anything to Yi Xian. He even went to ask the ancestor to show up, but there was no reaction from the statue. Your Majesty, is there no other way? Elder Xing's face was grave. He could tell that this human couldn't be suppressed at all. This had nothing to do with cultivation. It was just that the other party's escape technique was too strange. There's another way. I'll ask someone. However, if we ask this person to help us, our clan will have to pay a huge price. The Beast King pondered for a while, and finally made a decision in his heart. Who? Elder Xing's face changed slightly. The Beast King was half a step to the strongest. If even he had to ask for help, this person must be half a step to the strongest level. It was also very likely that this person was one of the 10 strongest. When I come back, I'll definitely cut this damn human into pieces. The Beast King did not say much. He stepped out of the ancestral land and stepped onto the star path that led to the outside world. Yi Xian saw all of this, which made Yi Xian's heart tremble as he frowned. Even Yi Xian did not expect that he would force the Beast King to leave the ancestral lands to look for help. Who is he looking for? Should we follow him? A thought flashed through Yi Xian's mind. However, Yi Xian immediately rejected it. It didn't matter to Yi Xian who the Beast King asked for help. The Heaven's Calamity transformation was a forbidden art. Even if the Beast King asked for help from the strongest of all time, they wouldn't be able to do anything to him unless he could find a forbidden character. Continue killing. I don't believe that a taboo god like you won't show up after killing so many of your descendants. Yi Xian sneered inwardly. He had already made up his mind to block the exit of the Star Beast's ancestral lands. Although he could not pose a threat to the Beast King and these Star Beasts at the peak of the Immortal realm, the other Star Beasts were no match for him at all. Moreover, Yi Xian was addicted to killing. No one could understand the charm of killing. Only Yi Xian was intoxicated by it. Don't misunderstand. It was not that Yi Xian liked to kill. It was just that every time he killed a Star Beast, his cultivation would increase under the effect of the Calamity Transcender transformation and the heaven-devouring demonic art. Moreover, he had killed 3 Immortal Realm Star Beasts before. They were extremely nourishing, and his cultivation was close to opening the second gate of heaven. If he could kill a few more Immortal Realm Star Beasts, Yi Xian was sure that he could open the second gate of heaven. Yi Xian did not like killing. It was just a necessary means on his cultivation path. Not to mention whether he could force the taboo god to show up, or whether he could take revenge. Just devouring the blood and chi of these star beasts was enough to reduce Yi Xian's cultivation time. It had to be said that the bloodlines of these star beasts were extremely powerful, and their cultivation was extremely pure. They were much stronger than the creatures Yi Xian had devoured in the past. It could be said that they had greatly enhanced his cultivation. Why wouldn't he do such a good thing? Time passed little by little, and 100 years passed in a hurry. Yi Xian did not appear in the ancestral land again. In the past 100 years, he had been quietly cultivating and refining the cultivation he had devoured before. His cultivation was rising rapidly, and the outline of the second gate of heaven was faintly visible behind him. He was not far from opening the second gate of heaven, This kind of cultivation speed made Yi Xian extremely happy. It also made him believe that the Space Beast clan was truly a cultivation treasure. Every single Beast King was a top-notch tonic. If he could kill and devour for a long time, Yi Xian felt that he could open the third gate of heaven, or even the fourth gate of heaven, and enter the second immortal realm. At that moment, Yi Xian's entire body would be upgraded. After all, the difference between each immortal realm stage was like heaven and earth. Yi Xian was also looking forward to the moment when he could open the fourth gate of heaven. Although Yi Xian felt good, and his cultivation had increased greatly after 100 years of cultivation, the Star Beast clan was miserable. These 100 years had almost driven them crazy. In particular, Elder Xing, who was guarding the clan, was on guard every day against Yi Xian's sudden appearance. Therefore, he did not dare to have any thoughts of cultivating. Even if his cultivation was at the peak of the immortal realm, he still felt mentally exhausted after 100 years of mental tension. "Don't go out!" Suddenly Elder Xing shouted. This was because a Star Beast clan member, in the early stage of the immortal realm, was walking out of the light screen. Clearly, he had been stifled for 100 years. Moreover, he did not think that Yi Xian could kill him, a Star Beast clan member in the early stage of the immortal realm. Puff! The Star Beast clan member in the immortal realm had just stepped out of the light screen when his entire body was penetrated by the sky-punishing halberd. In the next moment, his entire body was pulled into the void by an arm, leaving behind a pool of blood on the ground. Damn it! Boom! Elder Xing rushed over, but he could not find any trace of his clan member. This clan member was obviously taken away by Yi Xian. Moreover, he could not resist at all. If it was someone else, it would be fine. However, this clan member was his nephew, who had just stepped into the immortal realm. If he really died in the hands of Yi Xian, it would be a great loss to the Star Beast clan. Yi Daoyu, let's talk things over. Please spare his life. I can agree to any condition you have. Elder Xing finally chose to lower his head to Yi Xian. He bowed humbly. He knew that Yi Xian would definitely be able to see it. As long as he could spare the life of this clan member, everything could be discussed. Bang! In the next moment, a huge head fell from the void and rolled to the side of Elder Xing's feet. This was Yi Xian's reply to Elder Xing, "You damned dog. I will kill you." Looking at the head of his nephew at his feet, Elder Xing roared furiously. His entire being went berserk. He frantically struck out one terrifying technique after another, bombarding all directions in the starry sky. Unfortunately, there was still no trace of Yi Xian. After Elder Xing vented the depression in his heart, he trembled as he picked up the head of his nephew. Tears rolled down from his eyes uncontrollably. Chapter 1553. 3 breaths later, Elder Xing suddenly turned around and looked at his clansmen in the light screen. He roared furiously in a stern voice. "Without my orders, if anyone dares to take half a step out of the light screen, there is no need for this bastard to kill you. This elder will take your lives." In the face of Elder Xing's anger, the Beast Kings kept quiet out of fear. Even without Elder Xing's orders, they wouldn't dare to step out. Even their clansmen who had just stepped into the immortal realm had died tragically. Wouldn't they be courting death if they went out? In the distant void, Yi Xian's body was covered in black fog. A large amount of blood was spurting out from his mouth and nose. The first heaven's gate behind him was rumbling and rotating. The second heaven's gate was also gradually materializing. Clearly, Yi Xian would be able to open the second heaven's gate soon. Phew! Yi Xian slowly opened his eyes and exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. The black fog around him retracted back into his body. He gave off a refreshing feeling. This immortal realm Beast King is indeed a great tonic. Unfortunately, this bastard has just stepped into the immortal realm. If I could kill and devour some powerful immortal realm Beast Kings, it would be enough for me to open the second heaven's gate, Yi Xian murmured. However, Yi Xian also knew that he didn't have the chance. The reason he was able to hunt this king beast that had just entered the immortal realm was because this king beast was too arrogant and didn't know how powerful he, Yi Xian, was. Moreover, It wasn't possible to kill some powerful immortal realm beast kings in one strike. Therefore, Yi Xian temporarily gave up on this idea. He had to think of another way. How can I lure these beast kings out? Yi Xian rubbed his chin and pondered. He was gradually addicted to devouring. No cultivation could be faster than devouring these beast kings. It was because their bloodline cultivation was too pure. This was definitely a great tonic for Yi Xian. I got it. After 10 minutes, Yi Xian's eyes lit up. He had learned a spell in the Eldritch world. However, this spell was too useless. However, in this situation, this secret spell might be effective. The demonic sound pierced his ears. This was the name of the spell, and its function was very simple. It was to control the mind of the person who cast the spell. However, this kind of spell was only useful for people with weak cultivations. If it was used on people with higher cultivations, they would suffer a backlash from this spell. It could be said to be extremely useless, and the losses outweighed the gains. However, Yi Xian felt that this method was very suitable for luring out some king beasts. Yi Xian did as he said. He took a step forward, and once again entered the ancestral land. What happened next directly brought about a calamity to these king beasts. Chanting sutras in the heavens, the demonic sound pierced his ears. Rolling demonic sounds came from the sky above the entire ancestral land. This demonic sound bewitched one's soul, and controlled one's mind. And it only targeted the king beasts that were weaker than Yi Xian. This immediately caused the king beasts to become irritable, and madly charge out of the light screen. Come back, all of you, come back. Elder Xing's expression changed drastically. Numerous unparalleled great techniques swept out, wanting to pull his clansmen back. However, even if he had great divine abilities and great supernatural powers, he could not stop tens of thousands of king beasts running away by himself. Formation. The 10 immortal king beasts attacked, directly transforming into tens of thousands of starlight chains that bound the bewitched clansmen. Unfortunately, although they attacked very quickly, Yi Xian was even faster than them. Kill! The heaven-slaying halberd appeared in the starry sky. It was 10,000 miles long, and it slashed at the beast kings with destructive power. Boom, boom, boom. The heaven-destroying halberd was terrifying. Even though the beast kings' bodies were terrifyingly strong, with Yi Xian's cultivation, the heaven-destroying halberd unleashed an unparalleled killing power. More than 10,000 beast kings were turned into a mist of blood. Devour. The profound mysteries of the calamity transcender technique, and the heaven-devouring demonic art were displayed, and the entire starry sky turned into a black vortex. The blood energy and cultivation of the dead beast kings swirled into the sky, turning into rivers of blood that were directly swallowed by the black vortex. You're courting death. Elder Xing attacked and shattered the black vortex with a palm. However, Yi Xian had already swallowed all the blood and cultivation. He had already used the calamity transformation and disappeared without a trace. Despicable human, despicable human. Elder Xing roared angrily. The 10 immortal king beasts were also filled with hostility. They had the ability to not use it, and were completely led by the nose by Yi Xian. This feeling of shame and indignation caused them to hate Yi Xian to the extreme. On the other side, Yi Xian had successfully killed tens of thousands of beast kings. Although they were weak, the blood and cultivation they gathered together was extremely powerful. Yi Xian was sitting cross-legged in the void to refine this cultivation. The second heavenly gate behind him was almost completed. Open for me. 1,000 years later, Yi Xian abruptly opened his eyes. The second heaven gate behind him condensed with a loud bang, and began to revolve behind him in a terrifying manner. Moreover, this wasn't the end. A magnificent and grand phenomenon accompanied it. Rumble. The 12 chaotic worlds appeared on their own. The second world shone brightly, and directly merged with Yi Xian's second heavenly gate. In the next moment, Yi Xian's aura skyrocketed. The second heavenly gate dropped down a wisp of the mysteries of samsara, and directly merged with Yi Xian's head. It was also at this time that Yi Xian's forehead flashed violently. The mysterious symbol hidden in his sea of consciousness reappeared. This time, the mysterious symbol's appearance brought with it terrifying fluctuations. Yi Xian fell into an indescribable realm. Rumble. The 12 chaotic worlds dissipated. Yi Xian was lying in the starry sky. He was enveloped by an extremely mysterious aura. The mysterious symbol on his forehead was pulsating violently. After a long time, Yi Xian suddenly opened his eyes. The mysterious symbol on his forehead disappeared again. A terrifying and majestic aura erupted from Yi Xian's body. After opening the second heavenly gate, he was even stronger. The second move of the eternal reincarnation fist? Yi Xian lifted his fists in a daze. A mysterious radiance flickered on his fists. He had just opened the second heavenly gate and obtained the second move of the eternal reincarnation fist. Yi Xian never expected that the eternal reincarnation fist would have a second move. If this was the case, would he obtain the third move of the eternal reincarnation fist after opening the third heavenly gate? Thinking of this possibility, Yi Xian's face flushed red. He was extremely excited. He had already experienced how powerful the eternal reincarnation fist was. The second move would definitely be stronger than the first move. If he could open all 12 heavenly gates, would he be able to learn the complete eternal reincarnation fist? The 12 moves of the eternal reincarnation fist are compatible with the 12 periods of the chaotic universe. I'm afraid this set of eternal reincarnation fist isn't that simple. Yi Xian muttered to himself. Boom! Just as Yi Xian was deep in thought, an abnormal fluctuation woke him up. He sensed that there were people outside the Star Road, heading towards the ancestral land of the space beasts. One of the auras belonged to the Beast King. On the other hand, the aura on the other side was uncertain. Even Yi Xian couldn't sense the other party's cultivation. The strongest throughout the ages? In the next moment, Yi Xian was shocked. His soul was extremely powerful. Although his cultivation wasn't as strong as the Beast King, who was half a step away from being able to sense his cultivation, he could only be in existence at the level of the strongest throughout the ages. Chapter 1554. Did he invite the strongest of all time? Yi Xian regained his composure after the initial shock. He wasn't afraid even if the strongest of all time came, because he believed in the heaven calamity transformation. Even the strongest of all time wouldn't be able to find him. However, Yi Xian was a little confused. Which of the 10 strongest of all time did the Beast King invite? These thoughts flashed through his mind. Yi Xian patiently waited for the arrival of the Beast King and the strongest of all time. He also wanted to see how the strongest of all time was related to the giant beasts of space. It's her. When the two figures arrived at the end of the Star Road, Yi Xian's eyes flashed. He immediately recognized who it was. The Master of Human Tao. The Master of Human Tao. The one who achieved Tao during the 5th period. She was also one of the 2 female strongest of the 10 strongest. However, the Master of Human Tao didn't have much of a presence among the 10 strongest. Almost everyone could ignore her. Even Yi Xian didn't expect that the Beast King would invite the Master of Human Tao. The chaotic universe, the 12 periods. The Master of Human Tao was the one who achieved Tao during the 5th period. She created the boundless secular world technique. Its strongest power was also known as the power of karma. Today's karma would be reaped in the future. Everything in the universe was connected to karma. The so-called power of karma was also very mysterious. The Master of Human Tao didn't achieve Tao early, but she definitely wasn't late. She was a very low-profile person among the 10 strongest. Moreover, she was a woman. Yi Xian, you son of a bitch. Let's see where you can run to today. The Beast King had just returned to his ancestral land when he saw the corpses of his clansmen. He roared with hatred and was extremely furious. Heavenly Master, I'll have to trouble you. The Beast King quickly regained his composure and bowed to the Master of Human Tao. His posture was neither arrogant nor humble. He didn't show any signs of inferiority, just because the Master of Human Tao was the strongest of all time. All right. The Master of Human Tao nodded slightly. She was very beautiful. Her beauty was dignified and elegant. She gave off an indescribable feeling of a goddess. Although she gave off a gentle feeling, the Beast King didn't dare to look at her directly. Suppress. The Master of Human Tao wore a pink dress, and the power of karma was like a vast ocean. With a flip of her slender hand, She immediately covered the entire ancestral land of the cosmic beasts. Strands of mysterious power of karma intertwined, creating a red glow that filled the sky. Wang Yixian's expression changed slightly. Although he believed in the heaven-smiting transformation, it was still an attack from one of the strongest of the ages. As a result, Yixian pushed the heaven-smiting transformation to its limits. Not a single bit of aura leaked out from his body, nor was there any trace of him visible. Thump, thump, thump. Yixian was extremely nervous under the cover of the karmic power that filled the sky. He could feel his heart beating faster and faster. He was deeply afraid that the master of human Tao would be able to break through his calamity transformation. Time passed bit by bit. Yixian's nervous mood gradually calmed down. This was because his heaven calamity transformation was indeed extremely powerful. Even under the cover of the power of karma, it was impossible to break through his great taboo technique. Yixian finally let go of the stone that had been hanging in his heart. The corners of his mouth curled into a smug smile. He was smug not because the master of human Tao couldn't break through his calamity transformation. It was because the heaven calamity transformation could indeed fool one of the strongest of the ages. This was Yixian's greatest life-saving trump card. Suddenly, Yixian's heart skipped a beat. This was because the master of human Tao's gaze had quietly landed on him. Then, she calmly looked in another direction. Although it was only for an instant and seemed to be unintentional, Yixian was so shocked that he broke out in a cold sweat. Impossible. Although she's an absolute expert, the heaven calamity transformation is a great taboo technique. It's said that even the strongest of the ages couldn't break through it. She's probably just looking for me, Yixian muttered in his heart. However, the look from the master of human Tao just now still made him feel uneasy. He felt that there was definitely more to it than met the eye. Heaven Master? Half a day had passed, but the Beast King still hadn't seen any trace of Yixian. This caused the Beast King's originally excited expression to gradually turn serious. Could it be that even the strongest of the ages couldn't find this human? Boom! The master of human Tao waved her jade-like hand, and the power of karma that filled the sky dissipated. She slowly shook her head and said, "I'm very sorry. I can't find this person either. Either his escape technique is taboo, or he has already left this place." Left? The Beast King was stunned. He gritted his teeth so hard that they creaked. A pair of ferocious eyes surged with a terrifying aura. If Yixian had really left, he would sooner or later become a disaster for the giant beasts of space. "Yixian, I'm an absolute expert here. If you have the ability, come out for me and continue to kill my people. Otherwise, you're nothing more than a stray dog," the Beast King shouted. Although it was beneath his status, before he could confirm whether Yixian had really left, this was the only way he could go about it. Chi. Just as the Beast King finished speaking, a murderous halberd light suddenly split a Beast King in half. When this scene appeared, the Beast King's eyes instantly turned red. An extremely furious roar came from his mouth. "You dog, you're still here. If you have the ability, come out for me," the Beast King cursed. However, if one listened carefully, they would discover that the Beast King's voice was trembling. A great sense of fear rose in his heart. Even the strongest of the ages couldn't break through Yixian's escape technique. How would the giant beasts of space deal with such a powerful enemy in the future? Yixian was like a killing sword hanging over the giant beasts of space's head. They didn't know when it would fall and take their lives. This feeling made the Beast King's heart tremble. If Yixian's cultivation was superior to theirs, then so be it. However, his cultivation was neither high nor low. The Beast King could take Yixian's life with one hand, but he couldn't do anything to him. "Heavenly Master, please help our tribe tide over this crisis." The Beast King bowed respectfully to the master of human Tao. At this moment, he could only place all his hopes on the master of human Tao. He really couldn't think of any other way. The master of human Tao shook her head slightly. Her dignified and beautiful face was calm. She said, "I'm very sorry. He cultivates a forbidden escape technique. Although I'm in strongest, I can't find any trace of him. What should we do?" After hearing the master of human Tao's reply, the Beast King's face turned pale. Even in strongest said this. He was already in despair. However, the Beast King lived up to his reputation as the leader of a tribe. He didn't lose his composure. He then bowed to the Master of Human Tao and said, "Heavenly Master, thank you for coming to my tribe personally. I will welcome you with a welcoming feast. Please stay in my tribe for a few days. Back then, before I attained Tao, I received your father's help. Although he has fallen, I have a deep relationship with your tribe. I will repay this favor." The Master of Human Tao said gently, "Thank you, Heavenly Master. Please." The Beast King perked up. No matter what, the Master of Human Tao was in strongest of the ages. Perhaps she could think of a way to find Yi Xian in these few days. Just like that, under the Beast King's invitation, the Master of Human Tao temporarily stayed in the ancestral land of the giant beasts of space. Yi Xian frowned. He kept feeling that something was wrong. This was also why he didn't attack the giant beasts of space for the time being. Chapter 1555. The strongest of all. These were very serious words. Yi Xian wasn't so arrogant as to kill people in front of the strongest of all. Although he had the Heaven Calamity transformation, he still had to be careful. Wait. Yi Xian blocked the star path that led to the outside world. He didn't believe that the Master of Human Tao would stay in the giant beasts of the starry sky forever. Once the Master of Human Tao left, he would continue his killing spree. Yi Xian blocked the star path and began to cultivate. He had just opened the second gate of heaven, so he needed to stabilize his cultivation. Besides, he also needed to comprehend the second form of the eternal reincarnation fist. 7 days later, the star path was resplendent and silent. Yi Xian was still immersed in the second form of the eternal reincarnation fist. He was constantly practicing this fist technique in his mind, so he didn't notice that a figure had quietly appeared behind him. "Little brother Yi, your cultivation has improved again." Boom! When this sudden voice sounded out, it was as if a bolt of primal chaos had struck Yi Xian's body. His entire body shivered, and he abruptly woke up from his cultivation. His entire body instantly disappeared as he looked towards the source of the voice with a horrified expression. "Master of Human Tao." When the graceful and dignified face of the Master of Human Tao entered his eyes, Yi Xian's face turned extremely pale. His heart was in turmoil as a sense of impending doom enveloped him. He had been too careless. He had been too careless. The Master of Human Tao had already seen through his location. She hadn't just glanced at him casually. She had truly seen through his true body. Yi Xian was extremely shocked. He couldn't understand why the Heaven Calamity transformation had failed. Wasn't this forbidden technique undetectable even by the strongest of all? How did the Master of Human Tao discover him? A series of bewilderment flashed through Yi Xian's mind. He stared at the Master of Human Tao with extreme vigilance. His cultivation was raised to the peak, and he was prepared to flee at any time. Of course, Yi Xian was well aware that his calamity transformation had lost its effect. There was no way he could escape the grasp of the Human Tao Master. This was a supreme expert of the ages, not some random fish or shrimp. Although there was a taboo realm above the Prime of Eons, as long as the Prime of Eons didn't appear, the Prime of Eons was invincible in the Chaos Verse. That wasn't just a saying, it was an ironclad fact. You don't have to be nervous. If I wanted to harm you, I would have suppressed you the moment I arrived. I wouldn't have waited until now to see you. The Human Tao Master was graceful and dignified. Her voice was also very gentle. In Yi Xian's impression, he had met the Human Tao Master several times. She had always maintained a calm demeanor, as if nothing in the world mattered to her. Moreover, this female supreme expert's presence was extremely low, to the point that Yi Xian had almost forgotten about her. However, today, the Lord of Human Tao had broken through his calamity transformation, causing Yi Xian's opinion of the Lord of Human Tao to undergo a complete change. Strong, very strong, terrifyingly strong. Although Yi Xian couldn't sense the cultivation of the Human Tao Lord, there seemed to be a voice in the unseen world telling Yi Xian that the Human Tao Lord before him wasn't as weak as she appeared to be. She was definitely terrifyingly strong among the 10 supreme experts, ascending in the 5th period, and a female supreme expert at that. After the 10 periods, there were very few legends about the human Tao Lord. 10 supreme experts. There was no need to talk about the chaos, destiny, time, and space. The 3 of them could control the 3 winding rivers, and were revered as the strongest 3. Next was the undying heaven lord of the 4th period. This supreme expert was unparalleled in killing. She established the undying heaven palace and shocked several periods. Even in the 10th period, her reputation didn't diminish. As the one who ascended in the 5th period, the human Tao temple of the undying heaven lord was almost impossible to find in the primal chaos. Even her own deeds weren't spoken of. All the creatures in the primal chaos knew that she was the supreme expert of the 5th period. As for the other 5 supreme experts, they were the extreme devil lord, the extreme emotion lord, the destruction devil lord, the heaven-devouring devil lord, and the myriad spirit lord. Each of them had their own deeds that were spoken of by all the creatures in the primal chaos. However, compared to the human Tao Lord who ascended earlier, their presence was extremely low. At this moment, in Yi Xian's eyes, this was definitely an extremely shocking and strange matter. How did you break my calamity transformation? Looking at the human Tao Lord's faint aura, Yi Xian could feel that she didn't have any killing intent. This also caused him to ask the biggest question in his heart. The human Tao Lord smiled gracefully and said, "Little brother Yi, do you know what supreme strength is?" Supreme strength? Yi Xian was startled. He then looked deeply at the human Tao Lord and said, "Supreme strength is a cultivation method that you all cultivated before you ascended. This cultivation method is something that you all created. When you became supreme experts of all time, and fused with the heavenly heart of chaos, this power would be refined to the extreme. That's why it's called supreme strength." The human Tao Lord smiled and nodded when she heard Yi Xian's answer. Then, she slowly shook her head and said, "You're only half right. Actually, supreme strength is only a power that's derived from fusing with the 3,000 grand Taos of the chaos verse. This so-called supreme strength exists within the chaos verse in the first place. Look at the primordial chaos, destiny and space-time. Before the 3 autarchs achieved their Tao, the 3 autarchs already existed. Thus the so-called autarchs have always existed within the chaos verse. My karmic energy is one of the 3,000 grand Taos. Yi Xian's heart trembled when he heard the human Tao Lord's explanation. He now had a deeper understanding of the so-called supreme experts of all time. Great doubts arose in his heart. What were the 3,000 grand Taos? As if she could sense Yi Xian's thoughts, the human Tao Lord explained softly. The 3,000 grand Taos form the entire chaos verse. As long as someone can comprehend one of the grand Taos and cultivate it correctly, they can become a supreme expert and produce the so-called supreme strength. According to what you're saying, there are 3,000 supreme strengths alone? Yi Xian asked in surprise. Yes and no. The human Tao Lord's beautiful eyes were slightly dazed. She looked up at the starry sky and murmured, "The 3,000 grand Taos are stairs to the path of supreme strength, but the chaos verse cannot contain all 3,000 grand Taos. That's why only if someone can comprehend one of the grand Taos can that grand Taos appear in the chaos verse. This is the so-called supreme strength. Furthermore, anyone who comprehends a grand Tao must obtain the recognition of the chaos verse. This is the chaos heavenly core you speak of. Only by fusing with the chaos heavenly core can the grand Tao they cultivate truly appear in the chaos verse. This is also the origin of the supreme strength of all time." The human Tao Lord paused for a moment. She looked at Yi Xian with her beautiful eyes and said, "However, your strength is not among the 3,000 grand Taos. That's the most interesting thing. Furthermore, I can see the cycle of reincarnation on you. My Tao heart is trembling. Perhaps one day in the future, even I will die by your hands." Reincarnation? Yi Xian was stunned. He then fell silent, because he did indeed possess the mysteries of reincarnation. Whether it was the 2 gates of heaven he had opened, or the 2 primordial reincarnation fists, they all proved that there was something inexplicable about him. It was as if someone was pushing him forward from behind the scenes. Everything about him was under this person's control. This feeling made Yi Xian extremely uncomfortable, but he had been enduring it all this time. Chapter 1556. I'm very curious. Since you owe the astral beasts a favor, and have seen through my heaven calamity transformation, why didn't you come here to suppress me? Yi Xian looked up at the human Tao master. It's easy to return a favor, but it's hard to overcome an ultimate powerhouse. I came to see you, because I want to ascend to the next level. Only you can help me. As for why I was able to see through your forbidden escape technique, it's actually related to you and my karma, the human Tao master said slowly. Yi Xian was stunned when he heard the human Tao master's words. He didn't quite understand what this ultimate powerhouse of all time was trying to say. You sowed karma in the past, and you reap what you sow today. Karma intertwines endlessly. Little brother Yi, although you haven't cultivated my karma, you've been tainted by my boundless secular technique many times before you became a saint. Even after you became a saint, your incarnation has been cultivating the boundless secular technique. As the saying goes, karma is connected. I'm the human Tao master, so I can also be called the master of karma. There's a thread of karma between us. Although you can't see it, I can see it. That's why I can find you. Your forbidden escape technique is useless against me. The human Tao master smiled. So that's how it is. Yi Xian was enlightened. It wasn't that the heaven calamity transformation was useless, but that he had karma with the human Tao master. That was why the human Tao master could find him. Even the heaven calamity transformation was useless. Yi Xian sighed in relief when he understood the crux of the matter. Fortunately, he didn't have any enmity with the human Tao master. Otherwise, if the deathless heaven master had grasped the power of karma, he probably would have died at the hands of the deathless heaven master. Yi Xian gradually calmed down. Since the human Tao master didn't have any ill intentions, he didn't have to worry about his safety for now. You said you wanted me to help you overcome your tribulation? You're the ultimate powerhouse of all time. Why do you need to overcome your tribulation? What can my cultivation help you with? As the saying went, one wouldn't wake up early if there were no benefits. Yi Xian also believed in this saying. There was no such thing as unconditional love or hatred in this world. The human Tao master had said so much to Yi Xian. Yi Xian didn't believe that she was just showing him kindness. Moreover, Yi Xian knew one thing. Since the human Tao master owed the space beasts a favor, logically speaking, she should have suppressed Yi Xian and handed him over to the space beasts. After all, she controlled the power of karma and placed great importance on karma, not chatting with him here. Little brother Yi, you've cultivated my technique. You owe me karma. Today I want you to pay me back. Do you agree? The human Tao master's beautiful face was solemn. This was the first time Yi Xian had seen the human Tao master so solemn. Although they'd met several times before, she had always been graceful and dignified. She gave off a quiet and tranquil feeling. She'd never looked so serious before. Karma can be big or small. I can pay you back, but it also depends on what you want. Yi Xian's mind raced. He didn't reject the human Tao master's request right away. Instead, he said something else. To put it bluntly, he had only let his external incarnation cultivate the boundless secular world technique. He did owe the human Tao master some karma. However, the human Tao master's request for his help was definitely beyond the scope of this karma. If there were no benefits, Yi Xian wouldn't act rashly. Let's not talk about this for now. I hope to end the grudge between you and the Astral Beast clan. This can be considered as me repaying their clan's favor. How about we talk about it later? The human Tao master said. All right. Yi Xian hesitated for a moment before agreeing. Yi Xian didn't want to become enemies with the human Tao master. There was no enmity between the two of them. It would be best if they could form good karma. Besides, he'd already killed so many Astral Beast kings. Continuing to kill them would only be a waste of time. Giving the human Tao master a favor at no cost was the right thing to do. Little brother Yi, come with me. The Lord of Human Tao slowly walked towards the ancestral land of the starry sky beasts. Yi Xian also dissipated the heavenly calamity transformation and appeared in the outside world. Just like that, he followed the Lord of Human Tao into the ancestral land of the starry sky beasts. In the ancestral land, die. Boom. As soon as Yi Xian stepped into the ancestral land, the Astral Beast King's ferocious roar could be heard. It instantly appeared above Yi Xian's head and slammed its claw down on Yi Xian. It used all of its cultivation in this attack, which was enough to prove how much the Astral Beast King hated Yi Xian. Yi Xian was very calm in the face of the Astral Beast King's fatal attack. He believed that he wouldn't die, and that the human Dao Master would block the attack for him. If the human Dao Master wanted to kill him, he wouldn't have said so much to him. As expected, buzz! The human Dao Master waved her hand. She didn't seem to use any power, but she froze the Astral Beast King in midair. The Astral Beast King's claw that was slamming down on Yi Xian turned into a bubble and disappeared. Roar! Boom boom boom! More than 100 Immortal Realm Astral Beast Kings rushed over from all directions. Their terrifying and ferocious auras surged toward Yi Xian and the human Dao Master. The entire starry sky was completely surrounded by these Immortal Realm Astral Beast Kings. Heavenly Master, why did you save him? The Astral Beast King's face was ashen as he looked at the human Dao Master with an embarrassed expression. He'd thought that the human Dao Master would suppress Yi Xian and bring him back to the ancestral land, but now it seemed that wasn't the case at all. If revenge breeds revenge, will there ever be an end to it? Why don't you turn weapons of war into gifts of jade and silk? If you two continue to fight like this, it won't do you any good, said the human Dao Master calmly. Heavenly Master, are you helping him? The Astral Beast King's face was as dark as still water, and his tone had lost much of its respect. If the human Dao Master hadn't been the strongest throughout history, he would have attacked and killed the two of them long ago. I'm not helping him. I'm just trying to resolve the grudge between you two, said the human Dao Master softly. Resolve the grudge between us? The Astral Beast King's face was ashen, and his eyes were bloodshot. Heavenly Master, he killed several Immortal Realm Astral Beasts of my clan, and more than 10,000 Astral Beast Kings. This is a blood feud. How do you expect me to let it go? At this point, the Astral Beast King paused for a moment. His face was slightly flushed as he looked at the human Dao Master and said, furthermore, before you attained Dao, you received my father's help. Although you're now an absolute being, are you going to return the favor you owe my clan? If Heavenly Master says that you can't, then I have nothing to say. The Astral Beast King looked crude, but in reality, he was extremely intelligent. He directly brought up the matter of the past to force the human Dao Master to kill Yi Xian and return the favor to the Astral Beast clan. If it were any other absolute being, the Astral Beast King's words might not have worked. However, he knew that the human Dao Master was different. She cultivated the power of cause and effect. If she didn't return the favor, it would be a devastating blow to the human Dao Master. Chapter 1557. Since I am able to come here, I naturally have to repay the favor I owed you all those years ago. It's just that little brother Yi has a great karma with me, much greater than the favor I owe your tribe. What I can do is to resolve the grudge between you two. The human Dao Master was very easygoing and did not get angry because of the Beast King's attitude. She appeared very calm, and it was rare for her to show her might. Perhaps outsiders would think that the human Dao Master was very weak among the 10 strongest. However, in Yi Xian's eyes, the human Dao Master was very scary. Not only was her cultivation terrifying, but under her calm and tranquil face, there was something that even Yi Xian's heart trembled. To put it crudely, a dog that bites does not bark. Yi Xian agreed with this sentence very much. In his eyes, although the Lord of Human Dao wasn't a dog, the attitude and bearing the other party displayed made Yi Xian very clear on one thing. This female supreme was very scary, and the most mysterious among the 10 strongest. Yi Xian had a feeling that perhaps even the undying Heaven Lord and the heaven-devouring Demon Lord might not be her match. Of course, this was just Yi Xian's feeling. He had almost never seen the human Dao Master in action. In those 2 battles between the strongest, her presence was also very weak. Her performance was neither strong nor weak. At that time, Yi Xian did not think too much about it. Only now that he thought about it, he suddenly realized that the human Dao Master was a person who kept a lot of secrets. He must die. The Beast King growled. Even if the human Tao master was mediating, there was no room for negotiation. If it was any other matter, how could the Beast King not give face to the strongest? However, the grudge this time was too big. Yi Xian had killed so many of his tribesmen. This had almost damaged the vitality of the giant star beast tribe. If he did not take revenge, how could he answer to his tribesmen? All right, since you are not willing to resolve this grudge, I will not force you. I will repay the favor I owe your tribe. However, I will not suppress little brother Yi. You may make your move. The human Tao master stood there indifferently. She did not choose to help the giant star beast tribe, nor would she help Yi Xian. This caused the Beast King to be stunned and hesitated. You want to kill me? Do you have the ability to do so? Wang. Yi Xian had mysteriously disappeared after the calamity transformation was performed. The Beast King's face was ashen and helpless. Even the hundreds of Immortal Realm Beast Kings, who had gathered in the starry skies, were feeling extremely aggrieved. All right, I'll give the Heavenly Master face. From now on, the enmity between me and that Yi fellow is written off. A dozen breaths later, the Beast King raised his hand and bowed to the human Tao master. He had finally made a decision that made him feel humiliated and helpless. It wasn't that he didn't want to kill Yi Xian, but that he simply couldn't. If he continued to tangle with Yi Xian, the only ones who would suffer would be their starry sky behemoths. Unless they could find a way to break Yi Xian's heaven calamity transformation, Yi Xian was a ticking time bomb that could explode at any moment. It would also completely damage their vitality. Little brother Yi, aren't you going to come out and make peace with the Beast King? The human Tao master smiled calmly. Boom! Yi Xian appeared once again, and similarly smiled as he cupped his hands towards the Beast King. The Beast King's eyes were gloomy and malicious as he hatefully flung his sleeves and left. However, his voice resounded in the starry sky. Yi fellow, from now on, my clan and you will stay out of each other's business. Today, I'll give the Heavenly Master face. I hope you'll behave yourself in the future. The Beast King left in a flustered and exasperated manner. The hundreds of Immortal Realm Beast Kings also glared hatefully at Yi Xian before dispersing. A great enmity between them had been resolved with just a few words from the human Tao master. This was very satisfying for Yi Xian. The only regret was that there was no news of this forbidden character. Ancestral Land Starry Sky Temple. This was the training ground set up by the Beast King to receive the human Tao master. The entire Starry Sky Temple was resplendent and luxurious. Starlight flashed overhead, and one could see the entire starry sky when they looked up. Tribulation Transcendence Taboo? Yi Xian roared in shock. His eyes widened in horror. He suddenly stood up from his cross-legged position. He looked at the human Tao master with an indescribable look of shock. It was no wonder that Yi Xian was so shocked. The human Tao master had asked for his help. This was beyond his imagination, and it gave him a deeper understanding of the human Tao master's cultivation base. Looking at Yi Xian's shocked and speechless expression, the human Tao master smiled gently. Life and death are illusory and destructive. Karma engenders each other. From nothing to something, and from something to nothing. All things in the chaotic universe are connected by karma. As the human Tao master, I control the power of the great Tao of karma. I have reached a bottleneck. You? Yi Xian was so shocked that he couldn't speak. Although he thought highly of the human Tao master, and thought that this woman was stronger than the undying Heaven Lord and the heaven-devouring Demon Lord, Yi Xian realized that he was gravely mistaken. The human Tao master's tribulation was in the Forbidden Realm. What did this mean? It meant that she had reached the end of the path of the strongest throughout history. She was at the peak. This was something that Yi Xian didn't dare to imagine. Perhaps sensing Yi Xian's thoughts, the human Tao master smiled gently. Everyone's cultivation method is different. Even if you cultivate my boundless secular technique, and I want you to return the favor, it's far less important than helping me overcome my tribulation. Therefore, you can make any request. As long as it's within my power, I'll help you achieve it. Even if you want to kill the undying Heaven Lord, I'll do it for you. Chapter 1558. Boom! When these words fell into Yi Xian's ears, Yi Xian was shocked beyond words. He looked at the human Dao master in shock and fear. This human Dao master was terrifying to the extreme. Yi Xian didn't think that the Lord of Human Dao was bragging. Since the Lord of Human Dao dared to make a promise, then she definitely wasn't just talking about it. She really did have such a plan. Putting aside whether the human Dao master could kill the undying heaven master, this sentence alone was enough to prove that she was much stronger than the undying heaven master. At this moment, Yi Xian was truly tempted. If the human Dao master could help him kill the undying heaven master, it would be as good as helping him eliminate a great enemy. This temptation almost made Yi Xian nod his head in agreement. But in the next moment, Yi Xian quickly calmed down. No way. Yi Xian suppressed the restlessness in his heart and calmed down in an extremely short period of time. Although the promise of killing the undying heaven master was tempting, Yi Xian knew that he had something more important to do. And this matter was much more important than killing the undying heaven master. I can agree to it, but you have to help me wake Lu Bai up. Yi Xian stated his condition directly. This was also his truest wish. I can't save him. The human Dao master shook her head slowly. She naturally knew about Lu Bai's situation. After all, Lu Bai also cultivated the boundless secular technique. There was karma between the two of them, so she naturally knew about Lu Bai's condition. Hearing the human Dao master's reply, Yi Xian was slightly disappointed. But he also guessed that even though the human Dao master was strong, it was impossible for her to save Lu Bai. If the three utmost powerful beings couldn't save him, and even the eternal shadow couldn't save him, then it was reasonable that the human Dao master couldn't save him. Other than this matter, I can do anything for you. The human Dao master said sincerely. All right, then I want you to help me find someone. Yi Xian's eyes were deep. He looked calmly at the human Dao master, but a strange look flashed through his eyes. Who do you want me to find for you? Human Dao Lord was taken aback. He had not expected Yi Xian to make such a simple request. However, human Dao Lord quickly realized that the person Yi Xian was looking for was not that simple. This person is the ancestor of the Space Behemoth clan. I came here to look for this person. I don't think the Beast King will tell me anything about him. However, you are different. As long as you ask him, the Beast King will tell you about this person. Yi Xian did not mention that he was looking for a taboo character, because he was afraid that the human Dao master would not agree. This was also a trick that Yi Xian had left behind. It was said that women were very meticulous. Although the master of human Dao was the strongest, she was still a woman. She felt that Yi Xian was holding back, but she didn't take it to heart. All right, then I will summon the Beast King and ask him. Human Dao Lord casually sent out a communication jade talisman. Clearly, he was summoning the Beast King here. Yi Xian sat down cross-legged again. He closed his eyes and did not speak or move. Since the human Dao Lord had agreed, everything would be left to the strongest of all time. He would just wait and see. Soon, the Beast King entered the astral palace. However, his expression was gloomy. Clearly, he had not calmed down from his conflict with Yi Xian. He had only come because the human Dao Lord had summoned him. After all, he could not afford to offend a strongest. I wonder what the Heaven Lord has summoned me for? The Beast King cupped his hands and bowed. He was neither servile nor overbearing. He did not show the fear that ordinary people would show when meeting a strongest of all time. Yi Xian frowned. He had always been puzzled about the Beast King's attitude towards the human Dao Lord. He had always been very calm, and even dared to show his emotions when he was angry. It was as if he was not too afraid of the human Dao Lord. Yi Xian believed that this was a type of confidence. However, this confidence didn't come from the Beast King himself, but from something he could rely on. This was the reason why he was able to remain neither arrogant nor humble in front of the strongest of all time. Could it be his ancestor? Yi Xian's mind moved as he thought of this possibility. He also thought of the forbidden statue in the All-Beast Temple. This was the only reason why the Beast King was not afraid of a strongest of all time. Of course, all of this was Yi Xian's speculation. He seemed to be resting with his eyes closed. He was only observing the conversation between the human Tao Lord and the Beast King. I want to ask you something. The human Tao Lord was very easygoing. He did not have any aura of a strongest, and had a gentle smile on his face. I will not hide anything from you, Heaven Lord, the Beast King said in a deep voice. I heard that your race has an ancestor who is still alive. Would it be possible to invite him to meet you? The human Tao Lord smiled. Boom. When the human Tao Lord said this, the Beast King's aura suddenly erupted. His eyes turned sharp. The human Tao Lord narrowed his eyes at this sudden change. He knew that things were not so simple. Heaven Lord, how do you know about my race's ancestor? Did that fellow tell you? The Beast King regained his composure. However, his heart was beating violently and his eyes were flickering. He glanced at Yi Xian from the corner of his eyes. He could vaguely guess the purpose of Yi Xian's visit. The human Tao Lord did not hide anything. She slowly nodded and said, That's right. It was little brother Yi who told me. He really wants to meet your ancestor. Is there a problem? The Beast King's expression flickered. In the end, he sighed bitterly and said, I'm sorry, Heaven Lord. Even I have never seen my race's ancestor. Ever since the beginning of the primal chaos, there have always been legends about him. However, the Beast King has never seen him before. There are even rumors that he has died long ago. There is only a statue of him left in the Myriad Beast Divine Temple. If my race's ancestor really is still alive, why would I have asked you to come help me? My race's ancestor would have killed someone in his ancestral land long ago. How could he have suffered such humiliation? The Beast King looked at Yi Xian as he spoke. The hatred in his voice was extremely obvious. I see. The human Tao Lord's eyes flickered. She was suddenly extremely interested in the ancestor of the astral beasts. He was someone who had existed since the beginning of the primal chaos. Why had she never heard of this person's name, even after 10 great yuans had passed? The human Tao Lord could sense that the Beast King was not lying. This made her look at Yi Xian. After all, it was Yi Xian who wanted to find this person. She had only summoned the Beast King to ask him. Yi Xian slowly opened his eyes. He already had some thoughts in his mind. Buzz! Yi Xian casually tossed out his astral compass. Under the illumination of the starlight, an ancient path of the stars appeared. When this ancient starry sky path appeared in the eyes of the Beast King's expression greatly changed. His eyes became extremely sharp, and his gaze towards Yi Xian was filled with bewilderment. Where did you obtain this path of stars? Roar! The Beast King's voice became fierce. An extremely terrifying aura of violence leaked out from him. If it weren't for the human Tao Lord's presence, he would have attacked Yi Xian and suppressed him long ago. Chapter 1559. It doesn't matter where I got this ancient road of stars. What's important is that you know about this ancient road of stars. I want to know if the person I'm looking for is at the end of this ancient road of stars. Or did he die at the end of this ancient road of stars? Yi Xian looked deeply at the Beast King. What's wrong with this ancient road of stars? The human Tao Master asked. Although she was an omnipotent, the chaotic universe was too big. There were too many secrets hidden in it. How could the human Tao Master know about this ancient road of stars? Phew! The Beast King forced himself to calm down. He took a deep look at Yi Xian, then adjusted himself for more than 10 breaths of time, before calming himself down. Then, he began to narrate an ancient legend about the space beasts, causing Yi Xian and the human Tao Master to listen attentively. At the beginning of the chaotic universe, the giant beasts of stars were born. However, no one knew how the giant beasts of stars were born. According to the first Beast King, he was the king of the giant beasts of stars when he gained sentience. Moreover, he wasn't the first giant beast of stars. When he gained sentience, he discovered that there were countless giant beasts of stars around him. However, these giant beasts of stars didn't have sentience. They just wandered aimlessly in the starry universe. Then a person appeared. This person was the ancestor of the giant beasts of stars. However, this person wasn't in the form of a beast, but a human. However, the first Beast King could feel that this human gave him a sense of closeness. It was as if they were connected by blood. However, even though this human had taken the form of a human, his true form was also that of a giant beast of stars. This person was the ancestor of the giant beasts of stars. He was also the one who created the giant beasts of stars. This ancestor only told the first beast king to pass down the bloodline. In the beginning of the chaotic universe, the master of chaos had yet to attain Tao. The first Yuanhui had just begun. No one knew what happened to this ancestor, nor did they know who he fought. In the end, he died at the end of an ancient road of stars. The first generation beast king had once attempted to enter the star passage, but in the end, he had retreated. It was all because this star passage was too terrifying. It was not something he could withstand at all. It contained great terror that could completely take his life. And now, the ancestral land of the starry sky behemoths was built close to the ancient path of the starry sky, where their ancestors had fallen. After 10 Yuanhui, they had lived and prospered here for generations. It could be said that they were guarding the place where their ancestors had fallen. The statue in the All-Beast Temple was created by the first Beast King. Every time a new Beast King took over, the ancestor would come to pay respects. It was a tradition of the Beast Kings. However, the giant beasts of the starry sky had a huge problem, and that was the problem of the continuation of their bloodline. There were as many astral behemoths as there were grains of sand in the universe, and they filled every part of the chaos verse. Not even the Beast Kings knew how many astral behemoths there were. Although this race seemed to be as vast as the sea, the truth was that these space beasts had no intelligence at all. Even if they had cultivated to the pinnacle of the sempiternal realm, or even stepped into the half-step paragon realm, their intelligence was still no different from that of wild beasts. Although these unintelligent astral behemoths wouldn't harm the intelligent astral kings, they would attack any living being they could see. Therefore, the astral behemoths had become a race feared by all living beings in the chaos. The number of intelligent giant beasts of the starry sky was extremely small. At the moment, there were only a few 100,000 of them. They were the core of the giant beasts of the starry sky, and the foundation of their inheritance. This is also the reason why Yi Xian killed more than 10,000 king beasts, and the Beast King wanted nothing more than to tear Yi Xian into pieces. Yi Xian and the human Tao Master's hearts trembled. They didn't expect the history of the giant beasts of the starry sky to be so strange and mysterious. Just who was their ancestor? Heavenly Master, it's not that I don't want to tell you the whereabouts of my ancestor, but the first Beast King passed down his last words. My ancestor has long since passed away. Otherwise, I would have found my ancestor long ago and solved the problem of our race. How could I have let my unintelligent clansmen wander about? The Beast King sighed. Yi Xian sneered inwardly after listening to the Beast King's explanation. If the problem of the giant beasts of the starry sky was truly solved, and all of them gained intelligence, then the giant beasts of the starry sky would probably dominate the entire chaos verse. Can you take me to the All-Beast Temple to see your ancestors' glory? The human Tao Master thought for a moment, then looked at the Beast King. This? The Beast King hesitated. The All-Beast Temple was a place of worship for their ancestors. He had led Yi Xian into the temple last time to kill Yi Xian. However, if he let an ultimate expert in, he was afraid that the statue would have a spirit. If the human Tao Master damaged the statue, then he would become a sinner of the giant beasts of the starry sky. Don't worry, I'm just going in to take a look. I won't desecrate your sacred place. The human Tao Master smiled gently. All right, please, Heavenly Master. The Beast King nodded slowly, finally agreeing. Then how about I go in to take a look as well? Yi Xian smiled. Up to you. The Beast King snorted. In truth, the Beast King had his own thoughts. He had always thought that his ancestor was still alive, which was why he had entered the All-Beast Temple last time, to ask his ancestor to help him kill Yi Xian. Although the statue didn't move, the Beast King wasn't discouraged. This time, the human Tao Master entered the All-Beast Temple. If his ancestor could appear, then it would be a great opportunity for the giant beasts of the starry sky. The All-Beast Temple. The candlelight was dim, and the statue was solemn. When Yi Xian entered the temple again, he suddenly didn't feel as nervous as before. It was as if this was just a very ordinary temple. No. Why does the All-Beast temple feel completely different from the last time I entered it? Yi Xian boldly looked at the statue. This time, he didn't feel anything. He could see the statue's appearance even more clearly. It was as if the statue in front of him was just an ordinary statue. Yi Xian wasn't the only one looking at the statue. The human Tao master was also looking at it with rapt attention. However, she shook her head in disappointment. There really wasn't anything special about the statue. She couldn't sense any strange aura from it either. Heavenly Master, this is our ancestor. The Beast King knelt at the statue's feet and kowtowed sincerely. Only then did he get up and look at the human Tao master with a hint of hope in his eyes. Boom! Suddenly, the human Tao master waved her hand. Strands of karma seeped out and covered the entire All-Beast temple. The resplendent red light was hazy and hazy, as if it was trying to find out what secrets the All-Beast temple held. Unfortunately, the statue didn't change at all under the human Tao master's technique. Even the entire All-Beast temple was extremely calm. Let's go. Yi Xian arrived before the human Tao master. He took a deep look at the statue, then beckoned the human Tao master to leave the All-Beast temple. The human Tao master's heart skipped a beat. With a wave of her hand, she dispersed the power of karma and left the All-Beast temple with Yi Xian. The Beast King frowned, but in the end, he could only shake his head helplessly. In the air above the ancestral grounds, Yi Xian and the human Tao master stood side by side. However, Yi Xian's expression was heavy. This made the human Tao master wait patiently. She knew that Yi Xian definitely had something to say to her. Have you discovered the problem? Yi Xian was silent for 3 breaths of time before finally speaking. What's the problem? Asked the human Tao master softly. Yi Xian gazed at the All-Beast temple in the distance. His eyes were deep as he said, I've entered the All-Beast temple twice in the past. Each time, I've felt an extremely great pressure. But today with you here, the invisible pressure has completely vanished. That's the biggest problem. Chapter 1560. The human Tao master's beautiful eyes flickered. She knew that Yi Xian would not lie. There must be a huge problem. Then you mean? The human Tao master asked. This person must still be alive. Yi Xian smiled strangely and was extremely confident. Yi Xian was so sure because of the statue in the Myriad Beast Temple. If the statue only had some terrifying forbidden mark, the human Tao master would have sensed it. However, after the human Tao master entered, the forbidden pressure disappeared without a trace. This also meant that this forbidden character could spy on them. He knew that the human Tao master was here, and naturally hid himself. Yi Xian did not know why this mysterious forbidden character would do this. With his forbidden realm, there was no need for him to be afraid of the human Tao master. To put it bluntly, it was not difficult for a forbidden character to kill an eternal powerhouse. What was he hiding from? Or was he afraid of something? What could make a forbidden character hide from? These were all suspicious points. Although Yi Xian could not guess, he knew that this mysterious forbidden character was still alive and must be on that ancient starry sky path. Little brother Yi, I know you're hiding something from me, but I've already promised you. As long as you're willing to help me pass the tribulation, I can promise you one thing. Just say it. The human Tao master said softly. All right, I want you to accompany me on an ancient starry sky path. Whether we can find this person or not, as long as you accompany me to the end of this path, I'll agree to lend you my body when we come out, Yi Xian said in a low voice. All right. The human Tao master nodded slowly and agreed without hesitation. The starry sky path was continuous as they traveled through it. Yi Xian was in front, and the human Tao master was behind. The two of them stepped onto the starry sky path one after another, and returned to where they came from. Soon, Yi Xian returned to the intersection of the starry sky path. The ancient starry sky path was on the left, and the ancestral land of the cosmic beasts was on the right. This time, Yi Xian was going on the path given to him by the eternal shadow. However, this time, Yi Xian was not alone. He had an eternal powerhouse by his side. Yi Xian was extremely confident in his safety as he stepped onto this ancient starry sky path. What a terrifying shattered stars land! With just a glance, the human Tao master said solemnly. Her beautiful eyes began to destroy the laws around her. She stared at the ancient starry sky path that Yi Xian was about to take. Her gaze was heavy. Shattered stars land? Yi Xian asked. The human Tao master regained her composure and pointed at the ancient starry sky path. Look, this ancient starry sky path is shattered and formless. There are no laws within, and black holes are everywhere. Anyone below the level of an eternal powerhouse will never be able to walk out alive. There are many such death traps in the Chaos verse, the human Tao Lord explained. I call them the fragmentary stars. Before I achieved my Tao, I've seen many similar fragmentary stars. If you personally enter such a place, it will indeed be very difficult to come out alive. How confident are you? Yi Xian had long known that this ancient starry sky path was dangerous. Otherwise, he wouldn't have asked the human Tao master to accompany him. He asked the question he was most concerned about. Little brother Yi, don't worry. Although the shattered stars land is terrifying, with me by your side, this ancient path is completely safe. Even if the entire shattered stars land collapses, I can still take you away. At this moment, the human Tao master's dignified and beautiful face had a supreme bearing. Her entire body exuded a supreme aura that matched Yi Xian's state of mind. This was her true supreme bearing. Compared to her usual tranquility, she was a completely different person. Let's go. Yi Xian calmed himself down and stepped into the ancient starry sky path. The human Tao master unleashed the power of karma and enveloped Yi Xian. The two of them entered the ancient starry sky path at almost the same time. The ancient starry sky path's laws collapsed. Black cracks streaked across the starry sky, and terrifying explosions abruptly rang out. The shattered star path twisted and turned, and cracks could be seen everywhere. Boom! The sky was filled with red clouds as karma opened a path. The human Tao master strode forward while Yi Xian followed closely behind her. His entire body was enveloped in the power of karma. It had to be said that Yi Xian felt ashamed. Although the human Tao master was the strongest throughout the ages, in Yi Xian's eyes, she was still a woman. To have a woman protect him was indeed a bit awkward. However, Yi Xian had truly witnessed the terror of the human Tao master. He truly understood what it meant to open a path when you meet a mountain, and build a bridge when you meet a river. Whether it was the terrifying chaos black hole, the broken starry sky path, or the destructive power that erupted from the collapse of the laws, Yi Xian's path was unimpeded under the protection of the human Tao master. How strong were the strongest throughout the ages? Yi Xian didn't know this concept, but he could sense that the human Tao master was very strong. She was stronger than the murderous, undying Heaven Lord. Regardless of whether it was in terms of cultivation, or what the human Tao master called the spirit, this female supreme expert had completely surpassed the undying Heaven Lord. If Yi Xian had to make a comparison, the human Tao master was completely on par with the three strongest existences in the chaos. To a certain extent, she could be called the number one strongest. Of course, Yi Xian's guess wasn't absolute. Chaos, destiny, and space-time. The three strongest existences could control the three great rivers. If they really fought, Yi Xian didn't know if the human Tao master would be a match for them. However, in terms of cultivation and state of mind, Yi Xian believed that the human Tao master was truly number one. Otherwise, she wouldn't have needed to undergo the taboo tribulation. Little brother Yi, you need to follow me closely. There's danger ahead. As the two of them gradually ventured deeper into the starry sky path, the human Tao master came to a stop. Even her gentle voice became heavy. This startled Yi Xian. For the human Tao master to warn them so cautiously, it was clear that even she was wary of the dangers ahead. Yi Xian immediately pushed his cultivation to the limit, deeply afraid that they would fall into danger. Boom! A blinding light erupted from the broken starry sky path ahead. A terrifying chaos storm swept towards the two of them, accompanied by terrifying law fragments that filled the sky. Karma, heaven and earth, all things melt. At this moment, the human Tao master made a powerful move. Her originally dignified and graceful face was extremely solemn, and a supreme might of the ages erupted from her. She waved her jade-like hands, stirring up the shattered stars. 3,000 strands of black hair danced wildly behind her. The chaos storm, mixed with countless law fragments, swept towards them, but she used the terrifying power of karma to keep it at bay. Follow me. Boom, boom, boom. At this moment, Yi Xian was truly moved. The human Tao master was leading him forward. Although she was a woman, the strength and sharpness she displayed shocked him. Unmoving as a mountain, shocking the heavens with a single move. This phrase fully illustrated just how terrifying the human Tao master was. Chapter 1561. Perhaps Yi Xian might not have been able to tell how strong the human Tao master was among the top 10 most powerful beings, but at this moment, he could feel that this was how an ultimate being should be. Compared to her, the undying Heaven Lord, and the others were a level lower. Boom! Every step was a step away from the heavens and earth. Yi Xian watched the human Tao master attack with his own eyes. She did not have any divine weapon in her hands, only a pair of jade-like hands. Each time she slapped out, the law fragments in the chaos windstorm would be shattered. No matter how the storm attacked, under the protection of the human Tao master, Yi Xian wasn't affected at all. However, Yi Xian could sense that as long as he walked out of the human Tao master's side, the chaos windstorm outside would instantly turn him into ashes. This journey took 10 years. The human Tao master brought Yi Xian through the chaos windstorm for a full 10 years. The dangers they encountered along the way shocked Yi Xian. 10 years later, under the protection of the human Tao master, the two of them walked out of the chaos windstorm. The power of karma that lingered around them faded away. Are you alright? Yi Xian looked at the human Tao Lord in front of him, and noticed that the other party's face was slightly pale. It was obvious that even though the human Tao Lord was the strongest of all time, he had still suffered a great deal of damage during these 10 years of travel. Don't worry, little brother Yi. This is what I promised you. I will definitely help you achieve it. The human Tao master said calmly with a gentle smile on her face. What was an ultimate being? At this moment, Yi Xian was certain that only the human Tao master was worthy of the title of ultimate being. It was not only because she had helped him, but also because of the promise she had made to him. This was not the first time Yi Xian had done business with an ultimate being, the Lord of all spirits, and the heaven-devouring demon lord. He had done business with them before. However, in terms of bearing, they were too petty, and could not be compared to the human Tao master at all. Regardless of whether or not I can find this person, I will definitely do what I promised to borrow your physical body to pass through the tribulation. Yi Xian only said this one sentence because it was enough. This was also the favor he wanted to repay the Lord of Human Tao, which was also the so-called karma. I believe in little brother Yi, and I believe in karma even more. Hence, there is no need for any more words between us. The human Tao master smiled warmly. You only know that the person I'm looking for is the ancestor of the starry sky behemoths. But don't you want to know the identity of the person I'm looking for? Yi Xian asked in a deep voice. She smiled gently. I didn't know why you were looking for this person before entering this pathway, but I've already guessed his identity. Yi Xian slowly nodded and didn't say anything else. This was because facts spoke louder than anything else. In such a dangerous ancient path of stars, even the strongest of all time would have to tread on thin ice. The person that Yi Xian was looking for was already clear as day. A forbidden person. The human Tao master had already guessed it, but she still accompanied Yi Xian. This also moved Yi Xian greatly. He knew that he owed her a great favor. Perhaps sensing the change in Yi Xian's emotions, the human Tao master changed the topic. How far are we from the end of the ancient path of stars? Boom! Yi Xian unleashed his astral compass and projected the ancient path of stars. After careful comparison, Yi Xian's eyes lit up. He looked at the human Tao master and said, There's still one last stretch before we reach the end of the ancient path. If he's still alive, he must be at the end. Let's go. The human Tao master called out to Yi Xian. The power of karma permeated the air once more. The shattered path of stars couldn't advance any further, so she used the power of karma to repair it. The two of them continued onwards, quickly heading towards the end of the ancient path of stars. 100 years passed in a hurry. Although this was the final stretch of the journey, it was filled with even more terrifying dangers. The two of them encountered an unimaginable chaotic black hole, which directly swallowed them up. The terrifying power of the chaotic black hole almost caused Yi Xian's body to collapse and die. Fortunately, the human Tao master used her great powers, and even summoned the heavenly heart of chaos. Only then did they barely manage to escape from the chaotic black hole. What was even more terrifying was that as the two of them continued onwards, the path of stars beneath their feet completely vanished. The stars around them seemed to no longer exist, nor was there any power of laws present. It was as if the two of them had entered a void of nothingness. Even using their cultivation became extremely difficult. This was a land of death. This was a forbidden land. The living would avoid it, and the dead would rest in peace. This forbidden land of death didn't allow any living beings to enter at all. However, Yi Xian and the human Tao master had still managed to enter. However, the human Tao master had experienced over 100 years of crazy exhaustion. Even her aura had weakened, which was enough to prove just how terrifying this ancient path of stars was. If Yi Xian had chosen to enter by himself, he probably would have turned to dust as soon as he entered, let alone reach the end of the ancient path of stars. It was also at this moment that Yi Xian could finally confirm one thing. Aeon Shadow really had only used him as bait to draw out this mysterious forbidden figure. Aeon Shadow knew that he wouldn't be able to survive on this ancient path of stars. If Yi Xian faced any danger, only this mysterious forbidden figure could save him. However, Aeon Shadow hadn't expected that Yi Xian wouldn't be manipulated by him. Instead, after a series of twists and turns, the human Tao master had accompanied him on this ancient path of stars. It's here. Finally, after a year, Yi Xian and the human Tao master finally arrived at the end of the ancient path of stars. Yi Xian's excited voice rang out as well. This was a mysterious, hazy zone. There were no laws, no chaotic will, and no signs of life. Even time didn't seem to exist in this forbidden land. I am Yi Xian. Senior, please come out and meet me. Yi Xian bowed, his voice echoing through the forbidden land. Unfortunately, no one responded to Yi Xian in this forbidden land. Withered, deathly still darkness, this forbidden land was filled with a negative atmosphere. Even the human Tao master was frowning. Her tranquil, beautiful face was solemn. I have a close friend who has been infected by the taboo. Senior, please help me save him. No matter the price, this junior is willing to accept it. Yi Xian bowed again. He believed that the person he was looking for was definitely here. Unfortunately, no one responded to Yi Xian. This caused Yi Xian's face to darken. Had he really come here for nothing? Come with me. Suddenly, the human Tao master called out to Yi Xian. The power of karma opened up a path once more. Yi Xian perked up and hurriedly followed. Under the human Tao master's lead, the two of them ventured deeper. In just a few dozen seconds, Yi Xian saw a shocking scene up ahead. Chapter 1562. Withered Bones. A human skeleton filled with the aura of time. This skeleton was old and decayed. Its bones were filled with the smell of decay. Many of the bones looked damaged, but in this forbidden land where nothing existed, it was still in perfect condition. Dead. He's dead. Yi Xian's eyes were bloodshot as he stared at the skeleton, unable to believe his eyes. Boom. Yi Xian took a step forward and instantly appeared in front of the skeleton. He stared at the skeleton, and his entire person was extremely ruthless. He couldn't accept this fact at all. Sigh. The human Tao master walked over with a long sigh. Why is it like this? Yi Xian growled hatefully. Yi Xian spent so much effort to come here, but instead of seeing the forbidden character, all he saw was a skeleton. All his hopes were dashed, and this was a heavy blow to Yi Xian. Karma is preordained by the heavens. This is fate. The human Tao master consoled. I don't believe in fate. Boom. Yi Xian's body exploded with rage, and his eyes were as red as blood. If he believed in fate, he wouldn't have made it this far. He's still alive. He must be alive. He's right here. There's no mistake. Yi Xian's entire body was in a berserk state as he continuously circled around the skeleton. His eyes were extremely fierce as malicious lights flickered within them. It was as if something terrifying was brewing in his heart. Little brother Yi, calm down. Whether this forbidden character is this skeleton or not, we've reached the end. Even if you act rashly, you won't be able to solve the problem. The human Dao Master consoled. Act rashly? Yi Xian smiled. But his smile was very cold, and his eyes were terrifyingly sinister. The human Dao Master still didn't understand Yi Xian. She only thought that Yi Xian was in a frenzy, but she didn't know that Yi Xian had already made up his mind to do something crazy. Little brother Yi, I know you want to save Lu Bai. Although I can't save him now, if I can pass the taboo tribulation, there might still be a glimmer of hope, the human Dao Master said calmly. I can't wait. Yi Xian slowly shook his head. He stared at the skeleton in front of him, a trace of madness flashing through his eyes. Although what the human Dao Master said made sense, there was an element of gamble involved. If the human Dao Master failed to pass the tribulation, he still wouldn't be able to save Lu Bai. Even if the human Dao Master became a taboo character, there was only a sliver of hope that he could save Lu Bai. After all, even Ancient Shadow had said that he could not save Lu Bai. Therefore, Yi Xian placed all his hopes on this, and he already had a plan in mind. Kill. Boom. Under the astonished gaze of the human Dao Master, Yi Xian suddenly opened the two heavenly gates. A mysterious brilliance flickered on his fists. This was the profundity of reincarnation, and it was also the eternal reincarnation fist that he cultivated. Yi Xian was taking a gamble. He was betting that this skeleton was just an illusion, and that this mysterious taboo character was still alive. Since even Ancient Shadow coveted his profundity of reincarnation, this proved that this taboo character was very concerned about it. His punch was to force this taboo character to show himself. Rumble. Eternal reincarnation, chaos annihilation. The eternal reincarnation fist was too terrifying. Even the human Dao Master was shocked, and a sense of dread rose in his heart. Sigh. Suddenly, an ancient sigh sounded out. What happened next caused Yi Xian and the human Dao Master to be horrified on the spot. Yi Xian's ancient reincarnation fist was blocked as well. Crack. The lifeless skeleton moved. He slowly raised his arm to block Yi Xian's punch. An array of death began to revolve around the skeleton. What happened next caused the human Dao Master and Yi Xian to be even more horrified. It even caused the human Dao Master to grab Yi Xian and explosively retreat. Boom! Death light lingered in the air as the forbidden power erupted from the skeleton. He slowly stood up from his cross-legged position. His mottled and broken bones began to grow flesh and blood until he turned into a real human. Neither alive nor dead, undefiled and indestructible. All things fall, reincarnation, resurrection. The taboo covered the sky and the ray of death lingered. A skeleton that couldn't be any more dead actually grew flesh and blood and came back to life. Although Yi Xian and the human Dao Master couldn't see this person's appearance, just the aura he released made their scalps go numb. Come. This was a true taboo character. He was mysterious and terrifying, profound and ancient. He stretched out his 5 fingers towards the two of them and instantly pulled them in front of him. Karma, heaven and earth. Yi Xian couldn't resist, but that didn't mean the human Dao Master couldn't. At this moment, she was peerlessly beautiful. Her fine black hair fluttered wildly, and her body erupted with resplendent red light. The terrifying power of karma blasted toward this taboo character. Great Tao of karma. Not bad, not bad. Bang! The taboo finger could destroy all things. The so-called power of karma was shattered by the finger, and the human Dao Master groaned. She was directly suppressed, and terrifying taboo chains wrapped around her. Little girl, you're extremely talented. To be able to comprehend the great Tao of karma, and even peek into the taboo realm, you've truly impressed me. The mysterious taboo character praised, and he sincerely admired the human Dao Master. Who are you? The human Tao Master's beautiful face was extremely grim. She had never felt so powerless before. Just a single attack could suppress her. Was this the power of a taboo character? What a pity. Although you've peeked into the taboo realm, it's extremely difficult for you to step into it. If you try to force your way through, you'll only end up dead. The taboo character didn't answer her question. Who exactly are you? The human Tao Master asked solemnly. She felt like she had been seen through by this person. Before this mysterious taboo character, she didn't have any secrets. You can call me the ancestor of all beasts. The mysterious taboo character spoke softly. His scarlet eyes were slightly dazed, as if he was recalling a distant and ancient memory. Ancestor of all beasts? Yi Xian stared at this person in shock. This was the first time he had heard of this name. It was also the name of a taboo character. Little friend, you have reincarnation. That damned guy used you to force me out. Looks like he's prepared to make the first move. The ancestor of all beasts looked at Yi Xian indifferently. A deep light flashed through his scarlet eyes, as if he was thinking about something. Yi Xian didn't understand what the ancestor of all beasts was saying. He knew that this was a battle between taboo characters. He suppressed all his doubts and bowed to the ancestor of all beasts. Senior, please save my friend's life. Why should I save him? The ancestor of all beasts looked at Yi Xian and asked. No matter what price I have to pay, as long as Senior can save his life, I, Yi Xian, am willing to accept it. Yi Xian said firmly. Chapter 1563. Ha ha ha. The myriad beast ancestor laughed maniacally, as if he'd heard the funniest joke in the world. Your Tao of reincarnation is indeed tempting, but it's not enough for me to save him. Also, I can tell you one thing. The old man who sent you to me can actually save your friend, the myriad beast ancestor said coldly. Boom! Yi Xian was stunned by the myriad beast ancestor's words. He'd long suspected that Aeon Shadow could save Lu Bai, but he hadn't dared to confirm his suspicions. Now that the myriad beast ancestor had confirmed it, Yi Xian finally understood that it wasn't that Aeon Shadow couldn't save Lu Bai, but that he'd been using him all along. However, none of that mattered anymore. Yi Xian only knew that the person standing in front of him could save Lu Bai. No matter what price he had to pay, he would accept it. Senior, what will it take for you to save him? Yi Xian quickly calmed himself down and asked. It's not that I don't want to save him, but if I do, I'll incur the wrath of another taboo. Do you know how terrifying it is to incur the wrath of a taboo? The myriad beast ancestor said coldly. Forbidden enmity? Yi Xian's expression froze. The so-called taboo isn't tolerated by the chaos verse. Everyone is waiting to transcend, and each of them has their own means to plot against the primordial chaos. If I save your friend, it'll be the same as destroying the other taboo's plans. The myriad beast ancestor paused for a moment, then looked at Yi Xian and said, Now you understand why he didn't save my friend when I told you to. Instead, he guided you here. Silence, silence, a deathly silence. Yi Xian was completely silent. His brows were lowered, and no one knew what he was thinking. However, if one looked closely, they'd discover that Yi Xian's lowered eyes were sinister and terrifying. A chess piece. They're all toying with me like I'm a chess piece. Weakness is a sin, and weakness is a chess piece. Yi Xian's heart was roaring madly, but he appeared unusually calm, so calm that it was somewhat terrifying. Calm down. I must remain calm. Yi Xian forcibly suppressed his restless emotions. He slowly lifted his eyes to look at the ancestor of all beasts and said in a calm voice, I have always believed in one sentence. All the hustle and bustle of the world is for profit. As long as the price is paid, anything can be solved. Well said. The myriad beast ancestor held his breath, then slowly nodded. Although you are his chess piece, I can see that you are unwilling to accept this. Since he dares to send you here, I dare to accept everything. Didn't you want to save your friend? As long as you promise me one thing, I will personally save him, the myriad beast's ancestor said solemnly. What is it? Yi Xian knew that what the beast ancestor was going to say was extremely terrifying. It might even cause him to fall. But Yi Xian was already prepared for the worst. I want you to break the curse on my race and truly free the astral beasts. The ancestor of all beasts looked at Yi Xian solemnly. Curse? Yi Xian was bewildered. He didn't quite understand what the ancestor of all beasts was saying. Listen to this ancestor speak slowly. The ancestor of all beasts slowly recounted the history of the astral beasts, and Yi Xian and the human Tao master listened attentively. The astral beasts, a race cursed by the chaos verse. They had lived with the curse since the birth of the chaos verse. Billions of their members were ignorant of spiritual intelligence, and only a very small number of beast kings had been born with it. And this was the result of the ancestor of all beasts using a taboo power. Otherwise, the astral beasts would only know how to kill like wild beasts, and be reduced to lowly creatures. The chaos verse had cursed him because he had become a taboo character, implicating the entire astral beasts. He could be said to be the greatest sinner of the astral beasts. This was an eternal pain in the ancestor of all beasts' heart, but he had no way of breaking the curse. Yi Xian frowned as he listened to the ancestor of all beasts. If even you can't break the curse, what can I do to help you? You're different. The ancestor of all beasts' scarlet eyes flashed fiercely. He looked at Yi Xian with greed, as if he were looking at a peerless treasure. This caused Yi Xian's heart to tremble violently. He knew that the main event was about to begin. You possess the mysteries of reincarnation. Although it's not a taboo, it's not under the Chaosverse control. This is the key to breaking the curse, the ancestor of all beasts said excitedly. Tell me, what do you want me to do? Yi Xian's expression was calm. He was prepared for the worst. I have a taboo secret art that can transfer the curse of my race to you. As long as you can break the curse, my race will be freed. The ancestor of all beasts said solemnly. The myriad beast ancestor spoke solemnly. He paused for a moment before continuing. However, I must remind you that once the curse of my race is transferred to you, if you are unable to break the curse, not only will my race be unable to be freed, you will also suffer the curse of the primal chaos and lose your consciousness forever. This is more terrifying than death. Moreover, if you fail, I won't save your friends. You must consider this carefully. No, you can't agree to this. The human Tao master suddenly shouted, her beautiful eyes flashing with cold light. Although she wasn't a taboo character like the ancestor of all beasts, she was one of the strongest experts in the world. She knew all too well what the curse of primordial chaos was. How could it be as simple as the ancestor of all beasts made it sound? All right, I promise you. Yi Xian slowly let out a breath of turbid air, as his gaze became extremely resolute. Are you crazy? You'll die. Do you know how terrifying the curse of primordial chaos is? The human Tao master could no longer maintain her calm. Her dignified and beautiful face was filled with anxiety. She looked at Yi Xian with anger. What was the curse of primordial chaos? As the name implied, it was a punishment from the primordial chaos. It was the embodiment of the will of primordial chaos. The curse of primordial chaos had followed since time immemorial. It would never be extinguished. A race cursed by the will of the primordial chaos. And even a taboo character couldn't break the curse. It was unimaginable how terrifying it was. Yi Xian was indeed not under the control of the primordial chaos. He had opened 2 gates of heaven, and indeed possessed the mysteries of reincarnation. However, he was simply too weak. If the curse of the entire astral beast race was transferred to him, he would simply be courting death. There was no chance for him to live. His consciousness was undeveloped, and his heart was like a wild beast's. This was even more terrifying than death. I won't die. I will definitely break the curse of primordial chaos and live on. Besides, I still owe you a favor. I said I would help you overcome the tribulation. This is my promise to you. Yi Xian smiled at the human Tao master. At this moment, his eyes were deep, and a sense of desolation emerged from him. You? All of a sudden, the human Tao master didn't know what to say. She suddenly realized that Yi Xian was very mysterious. It was as if there was something about him that she couldn't understand. The Forbidden Land conceals the heavenly mysteries. He transforms the future and becomes one with me. Yi Xian murmured deeply. This caused the ancestor of all beasts and the human Tao master to look at each other in surprise. Their hearts trembled involuntarily. Chapter 1564. The primal chaos curse will follow you through the ages. It will never be extinguished. This sentence was as heavy as the firmament. Yi Xian almost couldn't breathe under the pressure. He knew that he couldn't bear it, but he had to bear it. Yi Xian smiled. His smile was very mysterious, and also very lonely. Past, present, and future. Yi Xian's hair fluttered in the forbidden land. His eyes became abnormally deep. He couldn't bear the primal chaos curse in this life. But could he break it in the future? The forbidden land concealed the secrets of heaven. It was as if the heavens had given Yi Xian a chance for his future self to appear. In this forbidden land, the secrets of heaven didn't exist. The rules didn't appear here. He could use his future self. When his future self merged with his current self, there might be a chance for him to break the primal chaos curse. Bear the future, look back on the past, and live in the present. Yi Xian whispered in loneliness. His figure gradually became blurry. It was as if he was starting to become unreal. Transform the future. Boom. In the eternal world, time surged. A vast and lonely voice came from Yi Xian's mouth. The entire forbidden land trembled. It was as if there was a heavenly river surging from outside the primal chaos. Time surged. Time passed quickly. Eternity was boundless. Heaven and earth were long. A turbid river appeared in the forbidden land. The surging waves of time rumbled. An illusory figure condensed in the long river of time. This was an illusory period of time. It was also an illusory future. In this long river of time, his footprints were left behind. Or rather, Yi Xian's footprints. He was Yi Xian. He wasn't Yi Xian. The boundaries were unclear. Time was unknown. Whether it was Zhuangzhou dreaming of a butterfly, or a butterfly dreaming of Zhuangzhou. In this forbidden land, he transformed the future into the true forbidden power. The long river of time? Forbidden heavenly law. The human Tao master and myriad beast ancestor exclaimed. They didn't find it strange that Yi Xian could summon the river of time. What truly shocked the two of them was that this was a forbidden danger zone. The river of time shouldn't appear here. Moreover, the illusory figure condensed in the long river of time actually radiated an aura that was extremely similar to Yi Xian's. It was just that this illusory figure was too illusory, but even the ancestor of all beasts was extremely shocked. Forbidden heavenly technique. He's using a forbidden heavenly technique. The myriad beast ancestor had keen eyesight. He was a true taboo character. So when he saw Yi Xian use his future transformation, his heart was violently shaken. Perhaps the human Tao master did not understand what a taboo heavenly law was, because she had not entered the taboo realm. However, the ancestor of all beasts was a taboo character. He knew very well how terrifying the taboo heavenly law was. In fact, he even felt a sense of dread towards the taboo heavenly law. What was a taboo heavenly law? Taboo heavenly techniques were the most powerful techniques of taboo existences. If one could comprehend a taboo heavenly technique, they would have a 20% chance of killing taboo existences. 20%. It might seem like a small amount, but one had to know that taboo existences were immortal and indestructible. Even the chaotic universe couldn't destroy them. To have a 20% chance of killing a taboo heavenly technique was already extremely terrifying. Even the ancestor of all beasts himself hadn't grasped a taboo heavenly technique. The future transformation that Yi Xian used seemed like a taboo heavenly technique to him. It was a pity that Yi Xian's cultivation was too weak. Moreover, his taboo heavenly technique was too incomplete. It couldn't even display half of its power. The ancestor of all beasts' gaze was gloomy. If Yi Xian was allowed to continue cultivating, and one day stepped into the ranks of the strongest of all ages, and perfected this taboo heavenly technique, he would become an extremely terrifying existence. Even taboo existences would have to be wary of him. You damned old thing. How dare you treat this person as a chess piece? Once he steps into the ranks of the strongest, let's see how you'll deal with this. The ancestor of all beasts growled in his heart. He was already sneering at the shadow of all ages scheme. Thump, thump, thump. While the ancestor of all beasts was deep in thought, the illusory figure in the river of time walked out. Yi Xian was also walking towards it. When the illusory figure merged with Yi Xian, an extremely terrifying aura erupted. Boom! Eternity boundless, future transformation. At this moment, the river of time flowed in reverse. The taboo extremist trembled in terror. Yi Xian's entire being was boundlessly majestic. His expression was very calm. So calm that not a single ripple could be seen on his face. However, an ancient and sorrowful aura slowly bloomed from his body. His eyes seemed to be spinning in reverse. Just a glance was enough to make one's heart tremble. Fellow Taoist, please make your move. At this moment, Yi Xian was too mysterious and profound. He no longer addressed the ancestor of all beasts as senior, but instead as fellow Taoist. This caused the ancestor of all beasts to be slightly taken aback, but he soon understood. Although Yi Xian, who had used the taboo heavenly technique, was still inferior to him, a taboo figure, he had the right to address him as fellow Taoist. Moreover, Yi Xian was too mysterious at this moment. He was like a completely different person from before. Although he was still himself, the ancestor of all beasts had an extremely strange feeling. It was as if the Yi Xian standing in front of him could see through everything. This feeling made the ancestor of all beasts extremely uncomfortable. However, he could only suppress this feeling, because he was about to make his move. Chaos heaven and earth, grafting flowers on trees. Boom! The ancestor of all beasts stretched out his palm and fingers, outlining mysterious taboo runes. These runes glowed terrifyingly, and then formed a black door. As the ancestor of all beasts roared, the black door rumbled open. Transfer! Boom! At the same time in the outside world. Roar! Billions of giant astral beasts roared at the sky. Billions of black runes shot out from these giant astral beasts' bodies, and then gathered together to form a long black river that disappeared with a loud bang. Forbidden Land. The black heavenly gate opened wide, and the terrifying black river flowed down. The densely packed black runes were too terrifying. They all surged into Yi Xian's head, and drowned him in an instant. You must make it through. The next moment, the master of human Tao reprimanded. She clenched her fists tightly, and her beautiful and dignified face was filled with solemnity. Whether it was for Yi Xian himself, or for her to overcome the taboo tribulation, the master of human Tao did not want to see Yi Xian die here. However, she was still in despair because the primal chaos curse was too terrifying. This was the curse of billions of giant astral beasts. At this moment, all of them were gathered on Yi Xian alone. Even a taboo figure might not be able to withstand it, let alone the strongest throughout history. If a taboo figure could withstand the curse of billions of giant astral beasts, the ancestor of all beasts would have done so long ago. There was no need for him to make this deal with Yi Xian. Chapter 1565. Arg! Suddenly a loud roar was heard. The primal chaos curse had completely entered Yi Xian's body. His entire body seemed to have been stained by black ink. He held his head with both hands, and rolled around in the forbidden land. This was not a roar of pain. Instead, it was a form of torture that targeted the soul. There were many types of primal chaos curses. The giant beasts of the Starry Sky clan were cursed for their lack of intelligence. Yi Xian bore the burden of this curse. At this moment, his soul was collapsing and his consciousness was becoming muddled. He was about to turn into a walking corpse without intelligence. Roar! Yi Xian let out a beast-like roar. His future incarnation allowed him to enter an extremely powerful state. However, in the face of the primal chaos curse, even his future incarnation could not withstand it. Eternal reincarnation. Yi Xian roared into the sky. Something extremely terrifying happened. Even the master of human Tao and ancestor of all beasts were shocked. Bang bang bang. In the eternal void, the heavenly gates opened. A heavenly gate opened behind Yi Xian. It rotated terrifyingly, and a strand of the profound meaning of reincarnation descended. However, this was not the end. Boom! The second heavenly gate opened. The third heavenly gate opened. The ninth heavenly gate opened. A total of 9 heavenly gates opened. A total of 9 profound meanings of reincarnation appeared and surrounded Yi Xian. This scene shocked the ancestor of all beasts and the master of human Tao. A total of 9 profound meanings of reincarnation was too shocking. However, before the two of them could react, what happened next left the human Tao master dumbfounded. The ancestor of all beasts sucked in a breath of cold air and staggered backward. Boom, boom, boom. The 10th heavenly gate opened. The 11th heavenly gate opened. The 12th heavenly gate opened. Eternal chaos, 12 heavenly gates. When all 12 heavenly gates appeared, they directly covered Yi Xian. The 12 heavenly gates rotated terrifyingly. A total of 12 profound meanings of reincarnation bloomed. 12 heavenly gates. He actually knows how to cultivate the 12 heavenly gates. The myriad beast ancestor murmured in shock. He simply couldn't believe his eyes. His mind was filled with extreme terror. He looked at Yi Xian with panic in his eyes, and even a wisp of terrifying killing intent. It wasn't just the all-beasts ancestor who was shocked. Even the human Tao Lord was stunned. She couldn't believe her eyes, and she felt as if her worldview was collapsing. It was common knowledge that the 9 great heavenly gates was the limit of the immortal realm. But what did she see? 12 heavenly gates? The human Tao Lord came back to her senses. As a supreme expert, she had great insight. When she saw Yi Xian opening the 12 gates, she realized something she didn't understand in the past. Wrong. Big mistake. It turned out that the direction of my cultivation had always been wrong. The so-called 9 great heavenly gates was simply a lie. The human Tao master's heart was filled with bitterness, but it was already too late. If she had known about this secret before she had achieved her Tao, she might have become a taboo character long ago. No, she wasn't a taboo character, but another realm. Perhaps no one had ever reached this realm, and even taboo characters had gone astray. Rumble. Just as the two of them were in shock, the 12 heavenly gates underwent another terrifying change. This time, the human Tao Lord and the all-beasts ancestor were completely speechless. They felt even more terrified. He transforms the future, the heavenly gates unite, reincarnation reappears, and chaos is destroyed. Yi Xian's voice was no longer filled with pain, but with a sense of eternal sorrow. His body was glowing. This was the light of reincarnation. His figure was turning blurry as the 12 heavenly gates rotated terrifyingly and started to merge together. Then, an extremely terrifying light of reincarnation erupted, drowning Yi Xian entirely. The gates of reincarnation? The ancestor of all beasts roared in shock as he retreated in fear. However, in the next moment, he suddenly realized that this wasn't the real gate of reincarnation, but something that Yi Xian had deduced that contained the power of reincarnation. Taboo heavenly technique? He's perfecting the taboo heavenly technique? Opening the 12 heavenly gates, and using the taboo heavenly technique? Who is he? Who the hell is he? The all-beasts ancestor trembled and growled. He suddenly realized that something was very wrong. Everyone had underestimated Yi Xian. Not only was he not controlled by the chaos verse, but he also possessed something that even taboo characters like them couldn't understand. Whose reincarnation are you? Speak. Whose reincarnation are you? At this moment, the ancestor of all beasts was crazily roaring, questioning Yi Xian as if he'd gone mad. It was as if he'd already forgotten that Yi Xian was breaking the primal chaos curse. His entire body was in a berserk state, and his eyes revealed an extremely terrifying killing intent. Boom! Forbidden power and deathly light swirled around him. The all-beasts ancestor's eyes were scarlet and terrifying. He raised his beast claw and swiped it at Yi Xian, his crazed voice causing one's scalp to go numb. There's no way a mortal can reach this step. I don't care who you reincarnated from, nor do I care if you're a supreme existence from the previous chaos verse. I'm going to kill you today. The all-beasts ancestor seemed to have lost his mind. His forbidden power bloomed with terrifying intensity, filling the forbidden land with an aura of death and desolation. His murderous intent locked onto Yi Xian. Stop! The human Tao Lord instantly came to her senses and stood in front of Yi Xian, the power of karma overflowing. She clearly couldn't allow the all-beasts ancestor to harm Yi Xian. You don't understand. You don't understand. If you don't kill him, you'll die in the future. I'll die too. Even that hateful, arrogant old bastard will die. He's setting up a grand scheme that's never been seen before. He's the taboo of taboos. The all-beasts ancestor trembled and roared. He seemed to have lost his mind and couldn't control his emotions at all. Boom! A loud explosion rang out as Yi Xian's gate of reincarnation shattered. The primordial chaos curse on him turned into a wisp of black smoke and dissipated. He'd miraculously dispelled the primordial chaos curse by combining the 12 gates of reincarnation with his future incarnation. But in the next moment, Yi Xian spat out a mouthful of blood. His future incarnation dissipated, and Yi Xian became so weak that he fainted. Ancestor. When Yi Xian dispelled the primordial chaos curse, the cries of billions of astral behemoths echoed throughout the chaosverse. Billions of astral behemoths were awakening their intelligence, and they were directly transmitted to the all-beasts ancestor through the purest form of bloodline. Clansmen? My clansmen? The cries of billions of his clansmen calmed the all-beasts ancestor down. Forbidden power circled around him, and his scarlet eyes gradually calmed down. Only a line of bloody tears flowed from his eyes. The curse has been dispelled. I'm no longer a sinner of the astral behemoths. I've truly brought them back into the primordial chaos. Everyone had their own stubbornness, and the astral behemoths were the stubbornness of the all-beasts ancestor. In the distant past, because he'd stepped into the forbidden realm, the entire astral behemoth race had suffered the primordial chaos curse. This was the eternal pain in his heart. Now that he'd finally dispelled the curse on billions of his clansmen, he'd finally atoned for his sins. He was no longer a sinner of the astral behemoths. To kill or not to kill? Suddenly, the all-beasts ancestor's gaze fell on Yi Xian. His scarlet eyes flickered violently, and he fell into a state of hesitation. Chapter 1566. Sigh. An eternal sigh echoed in the air. In the end, the ancestor of beasts didn't attack Yi Xian. It wasn't just because of the deal he'd made with Yi Xian, but also because of his own thoughts. What an old thief. You used him to force me to come into being, but you didn't expect him to be the taboo of taboos. If he's someone's reincarnation, you'll be in deep trouble the day he awakens. The ancestor of beasts sneered. Who is he? The human Tao master looked at the ancestor of beasts in surprise. She knew that this taboo figure must have noticed something. Reincarnation? That was a common phrase. Among cultivators, it wasn't hard to understand the concept of reincarnation. Many cultivators who failed their tribulations could reincarnate and restart their cultivation. However, for even a taboo figure to be wary of this so-called reincarnation was no joke. It was very likely that Yi Xian's past life had been so terrifying that even the ancestor of beasts was somewhat afraid of him. The chaos verse is vast, and the 12 periods are short. In the eternal chaos verse, there's always a small group of people who can shock the heavens and destroy the earth. They don't even care about the chaos verse will. They're boundlessly mighty, capable of sweeping through the ages. They're said to be indestructible through the ages. They're the taboo of taboos. But they've vanished without a trace, as if they've never existed in this world. Everyone is plotting and seeking transcendence. Some people are chess pieces, but they think they're the ones who control the game. Others are plotting for eternity, but they don't even realize it. The ancestor of beasts murmured to himself. He said many things, and a bleak aura lingered around him. Taboo power circled around him, but it couldn't conceal his sorrow. I'm not anyone. I'm just myself. An extremely weak voice sounded as Yi Xian slowly regained consciousness. His face was extremely pale, but his gaze was resolute. Yi Xian remembered everything that had happened. He'd naturally sensed the ancestor's killing intent, and heard the ancestor's words. The ancestor of all beasts suspected that Yi Xian was the reincarnation of some great figure. But Yi Xian knew very well that he was not the reincarnation of anyone. He was just himself. Yi Xian believed in his own feelings. He was really just himself, and not anyone else. Even if he was the reincarnation of a taboo character, he was only himself in this life, and he only believed in himself. Sweeping through the ages, invincible in the present age. These 8 words were Yi Xian's unchanging belief, and he had been working hard in this direction. Taboo heavenly skill, sweeping through the ancient times. The memories of your past life have yet to awaken. Only when you awaken will you truly know who you are. The grand scheme of the world that you have plotted for eternity will also be revealed. The myriad beast ancestor had a profound look in his eyes. He didn't believe that Yi Xian was only immortal, because mortals couldn't reach this step, let alone have the right to talk to him here. All right, I'll wait for the memories of my past life to awaken. Yi Xian smiled faintly. He didn't argue with the ancestor of all beasts, because he was still very weak right now. It didn't matter whether the ancestor of all beasts was right or wrong. None of this mattered. What mattered right now was that he had fulfilled his promise to the ancestor of all beasts, and broken the curse of the astral beasts. He wanted the ancestor of all beasts to fulfill his promise. What kind of figure was the ancestor of all beasts? He could obviously sense Yi Xian's thoughts. He slowly nodded and said, "I'll naturally fulfill my promise to you. Let's go right now." Boom! The ancestor of all beasts extended a withered claw. The forbidden land shook violently as a passageway to the outside world appeared. I can't stay in the outside world for too long, or I'll draw upon the heavenly punishment of the primal chaos. Let's go. The ancestor of all beasts swung his sleeve, and a forbidden power swept the human Tao master, and Yi Xian to his side. He took a step, and disappeared from the forbidden land. Central region, Heaven Mending Sect. This period of time had been torturous for the Heaven Mending Sect master. Ever since Yi Xian had left, he had been guarding Lu Bai every day. However, Lu Bai was surrounded by the forbidden power, so he didn't dare to get too close. If he attracted a backlash from the forbidden power, his soul would definitely be destroyed. Moreover, the so-called supreme seeds of the outside world kept visiting the Heaven Mending Sect and challenging Lu Bai. This caused the Heaven Mending Sect master to be extremely annoyed. The most troublesome thing was that Yi Xian had killed so many young prodigies. These great sects all came to question him, and even people from the Heaven-devouring evil palace came to demand the Heaven Mending Sect to hand over the culprit. This made the Heaven Mending Sect even worse. Fortunately, the Heaven Mending Sect master was an experienced sect master. His cultivation was comparable to that of a Tongtian. As long as it wasn't a half-step supreme expert, or a supreme expert that came in person, there was no one who could threaten the Heaven Mending Sect. However, during this period of time, the Heaven Mending Sect master was extremely anxious. This was because he discovered that the forbidden power around Lu Bai was becoming denser and denser. Terrifying spatial cracks even appeared around Lu Bai, as if Lu Bai would be devoured at any moment. When is this Yi Xian coming back? The Heaven Mending Sect master paced back and forth in the Heaven Palace. His voice was filled with anxiety and helplessness. Wang! Suddenly, a terrifying crack appeared in the void, and a black door opened. 3 figures appeared in front of the Heaven Mending Sect master at almost the same time. This caused the Heaven Mending Sect master's expression to change greatly. His peak immortal cultivation suddenly erupted. "Who are you? How dare you barge into my Heaven Mending Sect?" The Heaven Mending Sect master attacked. However, in the next moment, when he saw who it was, he immediately withdrew his hand in fright. His entire body was covered in cold sweat. "Greetings, Heaven Master." The Heaven Mending Sect master hurriedly bowed towards the human Tao master. In front of a supreme expert, he didn't dare to act rashly. "Sect master, there's no need to be so courteous." The human Tao master smiled calmly. He couldn't see the arrogance of a supreme expert from her at all. "Yi Xian, this is?" The Heaven Mending Sect master's eyes were sharp. Although he couldn't sense the cultivation of the myriad beasts' ancestor, someone who could come with the human Tao master was definitely a supreme expert. However, the Heaven Mending Sect master was extremely confused. Although he hadn't seen any of the 10 supreme experts, he had a rough idea of their strength. The myriad beasts' ancestor before him clearly wasn't one of them. which made him wonder who the myriad beast's ancestor was. He's the person who's come to save Brother Bai. Yi Xian didn't reveal the myriad beast's ancestor's identity. That was all he said. The heaven-mending sect master's expression changed slightly. Then he forced a smile and nodded. However, he was extremely shocked inside. He knew that the myriad beast's ancestors' origins were definitely not simple. Lu Bai's problem is becoming more and more serious. Spatial cracks have appeared around him, and the forbidden power is becoming denser and denser. If you didn't come back soon, I'm afraid he would have been devoured by the spatial cracks. The heaven-mending sect master hurriedly explained Lu Bai's situation. Chapter 1567. Senior, I'll have to trouble you. Yi Xian's expression was solemn, as he bowed to the ancestor of all beasts. Now that he had invited this taboo character back, Yi Xian was slightly relieved. He could wake Lu Bai up from his coma and completely remove the taboo in his body. It's fine. The ancestor of all beasts strode towards Lu Bai. The taboo energy surrounding Lu Bai was unable to obstruct him in the slightest. This caused Yi Xian's spirit to be greatly aroused, and his eyes revealed an extremely hopeful expression. He is. Sect Master Butian was shocked. Cold sweat dripped from his forehead as he looked at Yi Xian in shock. Taboo character? He was a legendary taboo character? Sect Master Butian's mind was in a mess. He was completely shocked. Although he had just learned that there were taboo characters above the strongest of all ages, it was an unimaginable shock to him when he saw one with his own eyes. At this moment, Lu Bai was sleeping on the black jade platform. He was sleeping peacefully, and his even breathing could be heard. Only the occasional frown proved that he was having a dream that no one knew about. You are indeed tainted with a taboo. Let this ancestor see which old friend planted this taboo in your body. Boom! The ancestor of all beasts whispered. The taboo death ray suddenly appeared. He drew a taboo rune with his palm and pointed it at Lu Bai's forehead. The taboo rune directly merged into his forehead. Bang! In the next moment, a terrifying thing happened. An earth-shaking explosion sounded. Lu Bai's body trembled violently. His peaceful face was distorted as if he was enduring great pain. Buzz! The taboo rune that the ancestor of all beasts had just injected into Lu Bai's body shot out from Lu Bai's forehead. An extremely terrifying taboo energy erupted and swept toward the ancestor of all beasts with an unimaginable taboo energy. What a powerful technique. I don't care which old man you are. I must fulfill my promise to others, even if it means that we have a grudge against each other. Boom! The Lord of all beasts shuddered as the forbidden light of death circled around him. He ignored the forbidden power that was sweeping towards him. As he was a forbidden being, this little bit of power could do nothing to him. Let me see which old friend you are. The heavens chanted sutras, and the forbidden sutras circled around. Ancient and inexplicable sutras came from the mouth of the ancestor of all beasts. The void of this world began to distort to the extreme, as if it was about to disappear from the primal chaos. Suppress! The ancestor of all beasts' scarlet eyes flashed with a terrifying light. His withered beast claw pressed down on Lu Bai's head. Then, a forbidden power erupted from his body, covering both him and Lu Bai. Don't worry, your friend will be fine. On the other side, the human Dao master comforted Yi Xian because she could sense that Yi Xian's aura was extremely unstable. He had been forcefully suppressing his emotions. I was too worried. With the myriad beast ancestor taking action, I'm sure Brother White Robe will be fine. Yi Xian let out a long sigh, trying to calm himself down. He had already invited a forbidden figure, so there would be no more mistakes. Lu Bai would definitely be able to wake up. Time passed little by little. The black jade platform was completely covered by the forbidden sutras. Terrifying rays of death drifted within, faintly reflecting the figures of the ancestor of all beasts and Lu Bai. 7 days later. Impossible. How is this possible? Boom. There was a loud explosion, and an extremely terrifying scene occurred. The black jade platform exploded, and the ancestor of all beasts was sent flying, as if he had been hit by some extremely terrifying force. Chi. The myriad beast's ancestor's figure rapidly retreated, his feet leaving terrifying grooves in the ground. The myriad beast's ancestor's ragged breaths constantly rang out from his mouth, his scarlet and ferocious eyes flashing with shock. On the other side, Lu Bai was surrounded by death rays, and a mysterious symbol throbbed violently on his forehead. The most shocking thing was that heavenly gates appeared behind Lu Bai, and there were 12 of them. It was exactly the same as Yi Xian's situation. Why is this happening? Why is this happening? The ancestor of all beasts trembled and growled. He stared fixedly at Lu Bai, and an unprecedented fear rose in his heart. Yi Xian alone was already enough to make him feel apprehensive. Now that Lu Bai had appeared, the impact on the ancestor of all beasts was unimaginable. 12 heavenly gates, forbidden incarnation, eternal scheming, revealed in this world? The ancestor of all beasts muttered in shock. Even as a forbidden figure, he was trembling all over. Could it be, that the gate of reincarnation is really going to open in this chaotic universe, and they are all going to return from their slumber? The ancestor of all beasts trembled and murmured, and his aura was extremely chaotic. Tell me what's going on. Suddenly, Yi Xian appeared beside the ancestor of all beasts without anyone noticing. His expression was extremely sinister, and his eyes had turned a terrifying scarlet. The result he least wanted to see had come to pass. He's not a taboo. The ancestor of all beasts gradually calmed down, but his voice was extremely heavy and bitter. Because he himself is a taboo. What did you say? Yi Xian's eyes grew even redder, and strands of terrifying silk flowed out of his body. The space around him was faintly exploding, and 3,000 strands of black silk danced in the wind. It was as if he was about to fall into a demonic state. Little brother Yi, calm down. The master of human Tao struck out, using the power of karma to envelop Yi Xian. She was suppressing the inner demons that had been growing in Yi Xian's heart. Otherwise, Yi Xian would definitely go berserk before long. With the master of human Tao's help, Yi Xian's scarlet eyes gradually cleared, but he still stared at the ancestor of all beasts with a twisted expression. He was waiting for the ancestor of all beasts to give him an explanation. I can simply tell you that no forbidden figure has left an imprint on him, because he himself is a taboo. It's just that the power hidden within him is awakening, and like you, he's a reincarnated cultivator. If I'm not mistaken, he's the reincarnation of a forbidden figure. Moreover, he's one of the supreme existences that have dominated all of history. He's in a slumber. He's awakening the memories of his past life. He's awakening the power within him. That's what's really happening, the ancestor of all beasts said heavily, revealing a truth that Yi Xian found hard to accept. Awakening the memories of his past life? Awakening the power of his past life? Yi Xian suddenly roared. Bullshit. He's just Lu Bai, not anyone else. I'm not lying to you. Come and see if you don't believe me. Boom. The ancestor of all beasts raised his hand and blasted out a taboo power, bringing with it great terror as it blasted towards Lu Bai. But in the next moment, a terrifying light of death erupted from Lu Bai's body, directly blocking the attack of the ancestor of all beasts. This taboo figure's attack couldn't hurt Lu Bai at all. How can this be? Yi Xian trembled and roared. He walked step by step towards Lu Bai, but was blocked by the taboo power released by Lu Bai. Chapter 1568. Did you see that? Although his taboo power prevented you from reaching him, it didn't cause any harm to you. Therefore, this taboo power was produced by him, and not planted by a taboo character. He is a taboo character himself, and is awakening the memories and power of his past life, the ancestor of beasts explained in a timely manner. Past life? This life? Awakening? Yi Xian smiled sadly, and knelt on the ground powerlessly. He didn't believe in the so-called past life at all. He only believed that he was invincible in this world, and that he had feelings for Lu Bai. If he really is a taboo character, and he's awakening from his deep slumber, then the day he wakes up, will he be Lu Bai? or the taboo character you mentioned? Yi Xian's eyes drooped, but his voice was indescribably lonely and sorrowful. The ancestor of beasts was stunned speechless. He didn't know how to answer Yi Xian's question. Maybe he's still him, maybe he's not him anymore. But if he awakens the memories of his past life, it's very likely that he'll become another person. The ancestor of beasts didn't continue speaking, because he sensed that something was extremely wrong with Yi Xian. An aura that shocked him overflowed from Yi Xian's body. Even the ancestor of beasts was affected by this aura. The ancestor of beasts' eyes trembled, because an extremely strange change was happening to Yi Xian. Yi Xian's forehead. A mysterious symbol was throbbing on Yi Xian's forehead. This mysterious symbol was glowing. This wasn't the light of reincarnation, but a light that even the ancestor of beasts couldn't understand. The ancestor of beasts finally understood the source of his trembling. It was all caused by the mysterious symbol on Yi Xian's forehead. What is this? The ancestor of beasts whispered in a trembling voice. As a taboo character, his vision was extremely broad, but he couldn't see the origin of this mysterious symbol. Thump, thump, thump. Yi Xian sat lifelessly on the ground. The mysterious symbol on his forehead pulsated continuously, emitting a rhythmic sound. Like the morning bell and evening drum, the sound of an ancient god. Every time the mysterious symbol pulsed, both the Lord of Human Tao and the myriad beast ancestor felt their nerves tighten. It was as if an unknown terror was attacking them, and a feeling of nervousness grew in their hearts. Boom! Suddenly, the mysterious symbol shone brightly. The intense light was so dazzling that people couldn't open their eyes. Yi Xian's entire body was covered by this light. What happened? The human Tao master raised her jade-like hands and unleashed the power of karma. However, she was unable to disperse the light on Yi Xian's body. Don't touch him, the myriad beast ancestor warned coldly. Boom! On the other side, the sleeping Lu Bai was also undergoing a shocking change. A symbol also appeared on his forehead and was pulsating violently. The heavenly voice of the great Tao shook the ages. The taboo energy that filled the air around Lu Bai dissipated. Only the light emitted by Yi Xian and Lu Bai were connected. Woo woo woo. Then something astonishing happened. A white mist appeared out of nowhere, accompanied by the strange sound of wind. It completely covered the heavenly palace. Even the Lord of Human Tao and the myriad beast ancestor couldn't see Yi Xian and Lu Bai clearly. Yi Xian felt like he was dreaming. This was an eternal dream that he would never be able to wake up from. He didn't know what he was dreaming of. He only knew that he was extremely lonely in this dream. He couldn't see a single living being anywhere in the world. Brother Yi. A long sigh sounded in Yi Xian's ears, accompanied by an extremely familiar and intimate aura. Yi Xian struggled to open his eyes. Memories surged into his mind, and his eyes gradually became clear. He also saw the familiar face in front of him. Brother Bai? Lu Bai was dressed in white and looked gentle and refined. He was as handsome as jade as before, and he had a warm smile on his face as he looked at Yi Xian. Brother Yi, I didn't think that we would meet in a dream. Lu Bai sighed. Although his smile was tranquil, it contained a kind of sadness. It was a sadness that Yi Xian had never seen before. A dream? Yi Xian muttered in shock. He finally realized that he and Lu Bai were in a mist. They were indeed not in the heaven-mending sect. If this is a dream, why does it feel so real? Yi Xian mumbled. Brother Yi, you and I are very close friends. I, Lu Bai, only have you as my confidant. Even if we are not together, our friendship will always be in my heart. Lu Bai sat on the ground. Although his smile didn't fade, it was filled with bitterness. At this moment, Yi Xian didn't care whether he was dreaming or not, but he knew that Lu Bai was real. Although Yi Xian didn't know why he was in a dream with Lu Bai, it didn't matter because Lu Bai was too sad at this moment. It was as if he was bidding farewell to him. Brother Bai, that forbidden character said that you are in a deep sleep and awakening the memories and power of your past life. He said that you might become another person. Brother Yi. Lu Bai slowly shook his head and interrupted Yi Xian. He looked confused and bitter as he said, Actually, before I fell asleep, Many strange things happened to me. Many memories that didn't belong to me flashed through my mind. Do you remember the ancient black mirror I gave you? It's called the chaotic mirror of mountains and rivers. It can illuminate any star path in the chaotic universe. This is the only gift I can give you. It will be of great help to you in the future. Brother Yi, no matter who I was in my past life, I, Lu Bai, am only myself in this life. However, I'm afraid that I won't be able to hold on any longer. The only person who can save me is you. Lu Bai said bitterly. How can I save you? Yi Xian's eyes were resolute. 12 heaven-shattering cauldrons. One of them contains a forbidden heaven law. If you can find this heaven-shattering cauldron, you can awaken me. Lu Bai said solemnly. Heaven-shattering cauldron? Yi Xian murmured as he unconsciously clenched his fists. Brother Yi, the memories I obtained are very incomplete. However, there is one thing you must remember. Your bronze ancient scripture is called the ancient scripture of reincarnation. Your heaven-destroying halberd and the ancient scripture of reincarnation complement each other. The 12 heaven-shattering cauldrons and the ancient scripture of reincarnation are one. When you can gather all 12 heaven-shattering cauldrons, you will be able to unlock the greatest secret of all time. If you can successfully cultivate the ancient scripture of reincarnation, no one in the eternal chaotic universe will be your opponent. Your only opponent will be the person behind the scenes. Lu Bai's figure was fading. He had told Yi Xian many things. These were all secrets that he knew. At this moment, he was revealing all of them to Yi Xian. Brother Yi, if there comes a day when I am no longer myself, and he blocks your path, you can just kill him. My will always be by your side. Boom. Lu Bai's voice was getting further and further away. Following a strange gust of wind, Lu Bai completely disappeared from this dreamland. In the outside world, the white mist was strangely dissipating. Yi Xian suddenly opened his eyes. He was still in the heaven-mending sect. It was actually just a dream. Chapter 1569. Brother Bai. Yi Xian suddenly looked at Lu Bai, but what happened next made Yi Xian's eyes turn red. Crack. A black crack appeared in the void, and the unconscious Lu Bai was gradually swallowed by the black crack. He was slowly disappearing from Yi Xian's sight. Stop him! Yi Xian suddenly turned to look at the ancestor of beasts and the master of human Tao. Their expressions changed slightly, but they still attacked, hoping to pull Lu Bai back. Unfortunately, the black crack was too strange. It completely ignored their attacks and swallowed Lu Bai, then disappeared completely. Brother Bai? Yi Xian suddenly rushed over, but Lu Bai was nowhere to be seen. Yi Xian's entire body became deathly silent. Why did it turn out like this? Yi Xian muttered to himself. He had tried his best, but he still couldn't save Lu Bai. However, he really did try his best. Yi Xian asked himself, why didn't I save Lu Bai? He had invited the strongest of all. He had gone through so much trouble to invite the taboo, but he still failed in the end. I'm too weak. Yi Xian smiled sadly. He knew the reason for his failure. It was because he was too weak. If he was strong enough to ignore everything, Lu Bai wouldn't have encountered any problems. Being weak was the original sin. At this moment, Yi Xian completely understood the meaning of this sentence, and also felt the powerlessness of being weak. You don't have to be sad. Since he's a taboo, it's a good thing for him to awaken from his slumber. The day he wakes up, you two will meet again. The ancestor of beasts came to Yi Xian and said, Ha! Yi Xian smiled, but his smile was very sad, and he exuded a lonely aura. But when that day comes, will he still be him? The ancestor of all beasts was speechless. As a taboo character, he naturally knew some secrets. Perhaps it was just as Yi Xian had said. If that day really came, would Lu Bai still be Lu Bai? I just want to know, where did Lu Bai go? Yi Xian's expression was calm as he asked the last question in his heart. This is an ancient starry sky path, also known as the Forbidden Path. If you really want to find him, then first become the strongest of all times, the myriad beasts' ancestor said in a deep voice. When it came to taboos, the myriad beast ancestor wasn't willing to speak too much. If it were just some old fellows, he could offend them on behalf of Yi Xian. However, Lu Bai was different. He himself was a taboo, an unprecedented taboo. He was the supreme existence among the small group of people who shocked the heavens and the earth. Even the ancestor of all beasts did not want to be involved. It was because when it came to this level, there was a great terror that even taboo figures feared. In the future, they would also be dealt with. Yi Xian, although this ancestor did not save him, this ancestor has done his best. You already know his situation. The ancestor of all beasts was silent for a long time before he finally spat out these words. No need to say more. I know what senior means. You and I don't owe each other anything, Yi Xian said calmly. Perhaps the ancestor of all beasts felt guilty. Or perhaps he had other thoughts about Yi Xian. The ancestor of all beasts pondered for a long time before saying, the biggest problem now is not your friend, but yourself. What do you mean? Yi Xian asked coldly. He is a taboo, but so are you. One day, you will follow in his footsteps, the ancestor of all beasts said with deep eyes. You mean I will also fall into a deep sleep? Yi Xian smiled coldly. You are just a mortal with many secrets. Being able to reach this step today is not something a mortal can do. Although no taboo has appeared in your body, it is only a matter of time, the ancestor of all beasts said. I don't need senior to worry about my own matters, Yi Xian said. The ancestor of all beasts was choked by Yi Xian's words. Even though he was a taboo figure, he still felt some anger in his heart. However, this bit of anger came and went as quickly as it came. Young friend, take care of yourself. The ancestor of all beasts suddenly attacked, and an ancient starry sky path appeared. This was the path to the Forbidden Land. He was finally going to return. However, before he left, the ancestor of all beasts suddenly looked back at the human Tao Master. Girl, your talent is outstanding and you have already touched the edge of the Forbidden Realm. However, listen to this ancestor's advice. Now is not the time for you to undergo the forbidden tribulation. Even if you borrow his body, the so-called taboo is not as simple as you think it is. After saying this, the ancestor of all beasts entered the ancient starry sky path. As the void closed, he disappeared without a trace. The ancestor of all beasts' advice caused the human Tao Master to frown. She could sense that the ancestor of all beasts was reminding her and not threatening her. What is a taboo? The human Tao Master murmured. In truth, she really wanted to ask the ancestor of all beasts, but she knew that if she did, she would be sowing karma with him. Owing karma to a taboo figure was not so simple. Just from the transaction between Yi Xian and the ancestor of all beasts, one could see what price Yi Xian had paid. He had almost died. Heaven Master. While the human Tao Master was deep in thought, Yi Xian slowly walked up to her. At this moment, Yi Xian gave off a very calm feeling. No, it was not calm, but a kind of deathly stillness. There was also a loneliness and sorrow that no one could detect. Little brother Yi. The human Tao Master came to her senses. Although Yi Xian appeared very calm, she knew that Yi Xian was just suppressing his emotions. I promised to help you pass the tribulation. It's time to fulfill my promise, Yi Xian said calmly. There's no hurry. The human Tao Master slowly shook her head. She could see that Yi Xian was deeply distressed. If she asked Yi Xian to help her pass the tribulation now, it would not be in accordance with the human Tao Master's principles. Although the two of them did not have much of a friendship, they had still formed good karma. Whether it was for Yi Xian or for herself, now was not the time to pass the tribulation. All right, give me 10 years. 10 years later, I will fulfill my promise to you, Yi Xian said after some thought. All right. The human Tao Master nodded slowly. 10 years later, the human Tao Sacred Hall. This was the human Tao Master's dojo. There were very few people in the entire Sacred Hall, no more than 1,000 in total. The Sacred Hall was set up in the depths of the cosmos, forming a world of its own. It was not located in the 5 regions of chaos. From this, it could be seen that the human Tao Master was unwilling to get involved in the conflicts of the outside world. Several Yuanhui passed, and she had been cultivating in the sacred hall. In the vast cosmos, in the boundless cosmos, the human Tao master sat cross-legged in the cosmos. The power of karma coiled around her body. Yi Xian sat across from her, rays of heaven burying divine light circling around him. Little brother Yi, I've actually met you once during the 5th Yuan Hui, the human Tao master said calmly. I guessed as much. Yi Xian nodded gently, looking at Yi Xian's calm face. The human Tao master said with mixed feelings. Don't you want to ask me what we went through during that time? What we went through isn't important. What's important is that you have no ill intentions towards me. That's enough for me, Yi Xian said calmly. The human Tao master bit her lower lip. A complicated look flashed through her beautiful eyes, but it disappeared in the blink of an eye. She regained her composure. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.